How can I be happy? Some people believe that there is one single meaning of life. They think that the universe was created for a purpose, and that human beings are part of some larger cosmic plan. They think our meaning comes from being part of this plan and is written into the universe waiting to be discovered. A humanist view of meaning in life is different. Humanists do not see that there is any obvious purpose to the universe, but that it is a natural phenomenon with no design behind it. Meaning is not something out there waiting to be discovered, but something that we create in our own lives. And although this vast and incredibly old universe was not created for us, all of us are connected to something bigger than ourselves, whether it is family and community, a tradition stretching into the past, an idea or cause looking forward to the future, or the beautiful wider natural world on which we were born and our species evolved. This way of thinking means that there is not just one big meaning of life, but that every person will have many different meanings in their life. Each one of us is unique, and our different personalities depend on a complex mixture of influences from our parents, our environment, and our connections. They change with experience and changing circumstances. There are no simple recipes for living that are applicable to all people. We have different tastes and preferences, different priorities and goals. One person may like drawing, walking in the woods and caring for their grandchildren. Another may like cooking, watching soap operas, savouring a favourite wine or a new food. We may find meaning through our family, our career, making a commitment to an artistic project or a political reform, in simple pleasures such as gardening, in hobbies, or in 1,000 other ways, giving rein to our creativity or our curiosity, our intellectual capacities, or our emotional life. The time to be happy is now. And the way to find meaning in life is to get on and live it as fully and as well as we can.
Yeah.
Stephen Fry.
And this is the Godless Revolution.
Hi, everybody.
Welcome back for another exciting week.
As always, I'm Dan Ellis.
I'm Ryan Duffy.
Matt Mitchell.
So we were talking about some of the stuff Stephen Fry has done, and decided we'd start the show with that. It's about humanism. It's titled "How Can I Be Happy?" Narrated by Stephen Fry. You can find it on the YouTubes.
Mm-hmm.
Me gusta.
Oh yeah, it has the animation going on.
Yeah, it's
in
impressively animated, actually.
Yeah, a lot like the Richard Dawkins when he has his little speech where he's got the juju god in the sky and of the ocean and all that stuff.
Okay.
It's got that one very well animated. But yeah, it's pretty good.
I like it very much.
Mm-hmm.
Oh yeah.
I'm gonna have to find out a way to make this keyboard more quiet.
Oh.
Yeah, we got more badassness going on in the podcast studio. Maybe we'll snap a picture of our badass studio.
Increased technology.
Oh yeah.
Here at
Yay!
And I'm noticing on the
Ellis International
screen
Studios.
that on the Google document I sent, it just said Katy Perry satanic, and the rest of it didn't make it on there. It's supposed to say like Katy Perry's satanic Super Bowl performance, then have a link to the article.
Oh, is that something people are saying?
Oh, it was. I'll bring it up on my phone right now, or I could try to, or you just look it up.
Along with all the conspiracies as to why Seattle blew the game. And
I actually didn't even see
Are
the
there
game.
conspiracy theories?
yeah,
about
there's a
that?
couple of them.
Really?
One of the main ones being about the bad play call, which I actually think was a good play call at the end.
The one I saw was on a website called Now the End Begins, which was obviously a very theistic. It was funny. There you go.
Promotes dark magic and LGBT.
Oh yeah. just scroll down to the middle and we'll read that section where it's all in italics.
Yeah, because everyone knows a giant robotic tiger
There you
is
go, right there.
satanic.
Their points where they're pointing out how it's a satanic thing.
Is this the arrowed bullet points here?
Which says
Wait, these here?
Katy Perry opened riding a golden monster with glowing red satanic eyes, singing
is
the
it a
lyrics
monster?
to her hit "Dark
red
Horse,"
satanic?
partially quoted in the photo above. Read those words closely. And the devil's speaking, and he is coming for you if he can.
I always pictured Dark Horse as playing chess really well with the Black Knight.
Well, it then says that she performed her LGBT fan favorite, I Kissed a Girl.
Well, that certainly means Satan's coming.
Leading as many young women as will follow her into experimentation with the
Yeah.
LGBT perverted lifestyle.
I like how in big red bold letters they put, though, the New World Order and Illuminati agenda is being hammered into our children's at a feverish rate.
I'm surprised it's not all caps.
Using catchy lyrics and nonstop drowning drum beats with overwhelming power chords.
Overwhelming power chords.
And I didn't know that her song Firework was also an LGBT anthem, but apparently I didn't see the Super Bowl, I didn't see the halftime show. Did she really have a rainbow shooting out from her behind
From her ass?
well, that's what it says there pretty much. She floated
like
over the
Lucifer
audience
did?
riding a shooting star with an LGBT rainbow as its tail.
Oh, brother. I saw that, and it actually wasn't shooting from anywhere. It was a platform, and then they had a star to the back of her. She was standing on a platform which she was
Okay.
harnessed to,
Yeah.
and that just had her flying around as she was doing the fireworks song.
Yeah.
It seemed pretty. Trying to draw any kind of meaning from that.
I thought that fucking stage was amazing, though, man.
it was cool.
all of
super
the
digital,
effects they were able to do with the entire stage lit up, and
Yeah.
I'll have to YouTube's it.
And then they had to bring out Lenny.
it was badass. I liked Katy Perry's thing, but I'm kind of a Katy Perry fan. I'm not entirely ashamed to admit that.
You know who else is a Katy Perry fan?
Who's that?
Kim Jong-un.
Is that just from the interview? Is what you're getting?
It's a true story, isn't it?
Yeah, I thought that movie had its big pluses and good points.
I know.
I giggled it quite a bit.
I texted Beth in the middle of that Katy Perry thing, and I was like, what the hell is going on with these talking sharks and all this kind of shit at the halftime show? And Beth's like, you've obviously never seen one of her videos
You've never seen a
before."
Katy Perry video
And
before.
I was like, nope. Nope. Okay, well. But it was entertaining.
That's not as
fine.
strange as it gets. I mean,
Yeah.
in her actual Dark Horse video, she's got guys. She plays like
Is that the Egypt one?
Yeah,
Egypt
yeah.
one? Oh, okay. I have seen that one.
yeah. So she plays like some Egyptian queen or whatever,
that
and
was
she's
cool.
got guys bringing her these giant trays of like Twinkies
Yeah, but that's not the same
and
as
flaming hot Cheetos.
That's totally different than bringing SpongeBob to life at halftime.
I saw some other headline there where she said her father or someone said that she sold her soul to the devil.
Yeah.
I was like,
Well, I think their main issue is that she used to be, or
Christian.
maybe still is, a fundamentalist Christian.
according to them, she's not anymore because
Well, of course not according to them, but I mean,
she did the Super Bowl and
yeah, but it doesn't matter what they think. It matters what she thinks. Right? 'Cause
Yeah.
every Christian is different, or
Well, and I'm sure she
the
wouldn't
no true
say-
Scotsman.
Yeah, I'm sure she wouldn't say she's a fundamentalist Christian these days for sure.
No.
Maybe not, but I think that's their main problem.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We've lost one of ours, and so obviously Satan has control over.
Right.
yeah.
Well, it's just like how Kirk Cameron used to be a great atheist.
That guy fucking bothers me
He's
so
just
much.
a dummy, dude. He doesn't know anything.
He's just a dummy. I don't know why anybody really gives him any attention. Like,
Yeah.
because he's that irrelevant and that dumb. I try not to spend any time on him because
Yeah.
it's just, he's just so far out of there.
He's just a Christian superhero now.
Yeah,
I think a lot of Christians are even like, this guy's fucking nuts.
maybe.
I mean, they've got to be the same type of irrelevant, Bible thumping,
Yeah, but they like Ray.
knuckle dragging troglodytes.
I think it's a little bit to do with
Yeah.
them going, look, a celebrity and he's on our side. The rest of Hollywood's all atheists and Satanists.
Yeah, I'm sure that plays part of it.
Yeah. Well, they got Kirk Cameron, Kevin Sorbo, and Mel Gibson. So good on you.
Well, I don't know if
They're doing
they
well.
have. I don't know if they want Mel Gibson.
I'm sure they do.
Oh yeah,
Okay.
He made The Passion.
yeah.
Yeah, but then he
And he
also
hates
has
Jews.
his drunken tirades of Jew hating tirades.
That's a Christian
That's-
tradition.
yeah,
Are you
that's-
kidding?
Yeah, but they don't really do it much anymore.
Yeah.
Oh, they still do. They support the Jews because they want the end of the they want
Yeah.
the end of the world
Yeah.
to come about. So And that's going to happen in Jerusalem. So
Right, and they also hate Muslims.
Like-
So there's common ground
Yeah.
there. The enemy of my enemy is my friend.
Yeah.
So
It kind of reminded me again because I was watching that Atheist Experience this morning, and one of the guys called in and said, "I got proof that God exists." And like Dillahunty always does, he goes, "Which God?" He goes, "Well, the God of the Christian and the Jews." And Dillahunty's like, "I highly doubt it's the same God as the Jews."
right.
And I'm like, "That's
Yeah, if you ask the Jews, it's not. They're
not
not going to
gonna
admit
say-
to it being the same
Yeah.
God. But go ahead.
yeah, that was pretty good."
Yeah, that guy ended up to be quite an idiot.
Yeah,
His argument was so bad.
I think it's okay to call people an idiot if they're being an idiot.
Yeah. Well, I mean, yeah, it was bad.
So do we have a topic for tonight, or are we just riffing and going over some things?
I have a few things, but
I don't think we
don't have a
set
through
out
line.
like a particular
No.
agenda or anything this
no,
week.
we didn't even text it all this week.
no.
actually.
Well, I was camping and broke my ass.
Oh yeah, Ryan broke his ass.
He's moving slow and in a lot of pain.
I didn't
Yeah.
exactly see a doctor about it, but I'm fairly certain my tailbone's broken.
Yeah, it's odd because he's by far the fittest of us three. Hope you don't mind me saying so, Dan.
Oh, how dare you, sir? See, that's what happens when you go and do fit things. You break your ass.
Yeah, see,
Yeah. All because I didn't want to run into someone else. Like, I need to stop, and my skis weren't catching on the hard snow, and I kind of slipped and straight on my tailbone with a 50-pound backpack on.
But what did you land on?
Well, it's this part of the trail we're on was actually groomed for cross-country skiing. So there's actually 2 grooves made into the snow that like a machine comes by and makes. So
That seems like cheating.
it was, because I'm not the greatest cross-country skier, especially downhill. So I got in the grooves to go downhill because I figured, well, they help guide me a little bit since
Yeah.
I'm not the best cross-country skier. And then while it was guiding me, I was also able to cruise a little faster. And I was catching up to someone, and I was trying to stop. And I fell back, like I slipped. My skis flipped up in the air, and I went backwards. And my ass basically hit the piece sticking up between those 2 cutouts of snow.
oh, you got high centered.
Yeah, pretty much. The one cheek on each side and
Nice.
tailbone right in the middle.
So was it just frozen shit in the middle?
Oh yeah. Well, that
Frozen shit. Wow.
there wasn't a whole lot of snow up there. I mean, there's literally only about a foot of snow, so all the snow was there was really hard packed
Oh, yeah.
snow.
Yeah.
Which is why I was trying to get my skis to catch in it, and like
I can't believe how mild this winter has been.
it's-
Oh yeah.
It's
I have-
been like scary
yeah,
mild.
I have shoveled 0 fucking times.
Dude, I haven't worn a jacket for the past 2 weeks.
I know it was 55
Yeah.
when I was coming over here
Yeah.
today.
Yeah, I think it got up to 60 or right near 60 today.
Yeah. When we were out doing that ski trip, it was in the 30s the whole time up in the mountains. Last year we went in March, and it was in the low teens the whole time. That was in March. Usually it's like
Yeah.
below 0 at night up there. And like, dude, I was sweating my ass off.
Yeah, it's. I think Utah's going to be on fire all summer long.
Oh yeah.
Then the Great Salt Lake is at its lowest levels in recorded history,
Nice.
which is bad.
Well,
Is it?
Well, water helps.
I mean, it's
to
an
have-
indication of how hot and dry it is. Maybe.
Yeah, but
in
you-
that sense, yeah.
You need water to create water. You got that
Oh, okay.
lake effect.
The evaporation.
The
yeah.
evaporation of that water evaporating to cause more water to
All
fall
right.
in the mountains. If you have less water up there to evaporate off, and for the mountains to catch it when
Yeah.
they try to go through, it's going to be even less rainfall and less snow
Yep.
coming our way because there's nowhere for it to evaporate off from to then fall again.
yeah, it's lost a ton of surface area.
Oh yeah,
Yeah. No, I'd imagine Utah Lake's the same.
I bet.
Utah
yeah.
Lake is always pretty gross.
Was that what were we talking about grossness? Because
Well,
yes, I agree.
No,
yeah.
in my head, I was thinking, man, as the Great Salt Lake recedes, it's just like
nasty,
nasty,
and-
fucking rotten, like dead, rotting things, and it's fucking
well, nothing
gross.
lives really in the Salt Lake. But
Oh,
brine
tons
shrimp.
of brine shrimp,
Brine
tons
shrimp.
of brine
Yeah, yeah,
shrimp,
yeah, but I mean,
brine flies.
yeah, but
yeah, they're horrible.
Utah Lake actually has like
Catfish.
complex organisms. Let's get big fish.
carp.
Yeah. Algae
Yeah.
blooms.
Yeah, dead cattle, bodies, human bodies. Who knows?
Maybe a
It
few
is
cars
gross,
from West
yeah.
Valley.
It is gross.
I don't know if they still do it. I remember when I was a kid, everybody would talk about going out boating on Utah Lake, and it was, either laking on the scum or skiing the scum. or-
Well, it's about 12 feet deep
yeah,
at the deepest.
yeah.
The deepest point's about 12 feet, and it's 100,000 acres surface area. so it's murky and muddy and silty all the
And
time
nasty.
because any little bit of wind across
Takes it
100,000 acres and that goes right to the bottom.
Yeah. It's
And
a silty
just-
bottom.
it
It's not a
just
rocky bottom.
Mix it. Yeah. Yeah. You got 12 feet of water and 12 feet of mud. So it's always gross. Yeah, but it's warm. It's warm in the summer. Warms
Yeah.
up pretty quickly.
Yeah.
Beyonce admits to demon possession?
Out of such specifically local topics, I suppose.
This is another article on that Now the End Begins website.
Mm-hmm.
She admits to Beyonce admits to demon possession while embracing satanic
Satanic
imagery.
That's not, well, that's...
Because that's Hindu imagery. That's not satanic, is it?
It's the same thing, don't you know?
is that Sheba?
I didn't even want to venture a guess.
Yeah.
It was the first one that came to my head.
D-
Well, you got one with, 4 arms and one with the
It,
8 arms.
it clearly looks to be
10 arms. That's 10 arms.
Hindu.
Look how fierce she is.
So she's
Sup,
got
B?
a goat skull with flames around it.
Is that a goat or? Oh yeah, it is.
That's a motorcycle frame.
Yep.
Yeah.
That's what that is. Yeah. She's wearing a flaming motorcycle frame.
I imagine her saying, "Ride this, baby."
With
complete
a
with side
a
view
bowl.
mirrors.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And it's got a bowl up on top.
It's got a bowl on top. Yeah.
It looks satanic.
Well, which is
It's
odd
flaming.
because goats and bulls are both God's creation. Yeah.
Yeah.
And so is fire, right? And
What-
all of that stuff is satanic imagery somehow.
What creatures did Satan create?
Right.
None.
Uh huh.
Didn't Satan create demons?
Snakes, talking snakes.
I don't know. No. I mean, according to the Bible, God created all of that shit. So,
Yeah. So
you know what? I've
how
always
is any
thought,
of it satanic?
I hadn't really thought about demons, but you know, most Christians or most evangelical born again Christians believe in demons as well as the devil, right?
I think, yeah, being possessed by demons, having new exorcisms.
Even Mormons
and-
do,
Yeah.
because
Yeah.
a whole third of the host of heaven went with Satan at the Council of Heaven, right?
Right.
So even Mormons believe in demons.
Yeah. Yeah, it's just I guess the Mormon origins of demons is different than other
Yeah.
Sure.
Christian sects.
Well, and I think it's also different in how they manifest. I don't think Mormons necessarily accept that demons can just show up and possess a human. I mean, not in the same way that certain Christians will.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, but either way, I mean, God would have created Satan as well as all of these fucking
Yep.
demons.
Yep.
Why would he do
Had to
that?
have. Right. And why wouldn't he just get rid of them once the trouble started?
Like
He's a dick.
he obviously created Satan, right? Because he created everything. Why the fuck would he create a playground for Satan? And then why would he create all of these demons to help Satan with his work? How does that make any fucking sense?
It's free will, Dan. It's free will.
Well, trying to think like a Christian, I would say it's like,
I'm going to play some
why
bet
do you
right here,
have
Dan,
to
with
do
you.
tests in high school?
Oh, I was going to say
God was
I
creating a test for you, just like your teachers do in school.
I would venture
would have
to
lost
say
that bet because I was going to say Ryan wasn't going to do a great job at impersonating a Christian. Because usually because he's been a lifelong atheist, and a lot of times he just doesn't quite.
There's
that time was
no-
actually, I think it was probably, I probably
there's
would have
no
lost that.
frame
That
of
was probably right on.
reference. Yeah.
Yeah, a test
was-
for them.
I was going to say, I can imagine that the Christian apologetics behind demons would be that Satan started out alone, but he managed to wrangle some souls into hell, and then they turned into demons. But even then, there's all kinds of problems because
God's the one that made him that way. That was going to happen, and he knew it was going to happen. So why create someone he knows is going to go there and Satan can turn into a demon?
well, and then that still points to how powerful Satan is,
Right.
right?
Yeah, if he's
Not
Satan
only
can-
Satan, but the demons themselves. If the demons themselves, not Satan, but the demons can possess and overtake God's creation, then even Satan's imps are more powerful
Well,
than
then-
God.
Yeah.
Then, yeah.
never thought of it that way. That's very good. That's very.
And certainly
Logical.
more powerful than God's most prized creation.
Oh yeah,
Sure. Right, because even quote prophets and leaders can be tempted.
Mm-hmm.
So
we got something there.
This is something new I've not yet pondered before.
an extension of the hell discussion.
Yeah.
I honestly I think that could be the next really effective argument.
What's that?
The hell and really delving into hell and Satan and the demons with Christians, with theists. It's not a topic that's been brought up a whole lot, but I mean after the episodes we've done and then even just some of these things, I mean I think those pose really difficult problems
Yeah.
for Christians. Or
Well, yeah, like I
theists
said,
to
that was
try
something
to-
that I'd never
Yeah.
even really thought about, was where do demons come from?
Right. Well, me neither. Yeah. Yeah. I think those could be extremely problematic.
So what do we have for a loose subject this week?
How about this one? Answers in Genesis to file discrimination suit against the state of Kentucky.
I saw
Yeah.
that. It's actually on one of my happy little links here.
They're right
Yeah.
at the top. Oh, there we
Right
are.
there. Yeah, Ken Ham filing suit against the state of Kentucky because he doesn't know apparently how the law works and what he
Well-
was doing was wrong.
Yeah. This article I have actually comes from the Answers in Genesis website, so it's actually even a little bit more entertaining than the one you've pulled up, which is Hemet Meta's
Yeah.
article. Says Answers in Genesis developer of the Ark Encounter theme park in northern Kentucky confirmed today it was filing a federal lawsuit against state officials for denying the park participation in the state's tax rebate incentive program. Although the program is available to all qualifying tourist attractions seeking to build in the state, AIG's application was rejected solely because of the religious identity and message of AIG. The lawsuit explains how this action by Kentucky officials, including Governor Steve Beshear, violates federal and state law and amounts to unlawful viewpoint discrimination. At this point, I just have to say, if Kentucky's concerned about the law to grant religion's money, it must be kind of a serious thing.
Oh, yeah.
Right? This is fucking Kentucky.
Yeah, a state not known for being entirely sympathetic to atheist views.
Or anything other than what Cam Ham is espousing with creationism. And anyway, the quote from AIG says, "Our organization spent many months attempting to reason with state officials
to get them to get them to see our way."
Yes, so that this lawsuit would not be necessary." This is from Ken Ham. "However, the state was so insistent on treating our religious entity as a second-class citizen that we were simply left with no alternative but to proceed to court."
Does he not realize that the whole fucking reason that they denied it was because he was treating non-Christians as second-class citizens?
No, he doesn't realize that. He says, "This is the latest example of increasing government hostility towards religion in America, and it's certainly among the most blatant."
Yeah, the reason the state yanked the $18 million helping
Grants.
funds or whatever grants, tax deductions, was because when AIG started hiring people for the Ark Encounter, the religious theme park that he wants to put together, they ran their ads and said that you had to be Christian in order to do it.
Yep.
Yeah, he'll get into that too. But at this point, my point is just sorry. Bigotry and discrimination are not synonymous with freedom and liberty. He's confusing those things. AIG has produced a video that provides relevant background concerning its suit. It features Ham, who...
It's 24 and a half minutes
Yeah.
long.
Yeah. He became nationally known for his debate against Bill Nye the Science Guy 1 year ago this week. I can't believe that was a year ago.
Yeah, that seemed
Wow.
like it was yesterday.
Oh yeah, I saw somebody post something about it earlier, just not too long ago, saying, it's been an entire year.
Yeah. And constitutional law attorney Mike Johnson. Johnson is the chief counsel of Freedom Guard.
Oh,
Serving as co-counsel in the case is Nate Kellum, chief counsel of the Center for Religious Expression. I don't know why these are even necessary. Organizations like anyway.
Because Christians have a persecution complex.
Yeah. A martyr complex, I would say.
Both, sure.
Both public interest law firms are providing their legal services at no charge to AIG in order to defend its religious freedoms to bigotry. That's me adding that.
We want them to be as free as possible, to be as bigoted as possible.
After Kentucky granted preliminary approval in 2014 for AIG to receive a rebate of some of the new state sales taxes the Ark will generate after it opens in 2016, secularist organizations exerted tremendous pressure on state officials to rescind the approval. Yeah, secular organizations like the federal government.
Yeah.
Well, and again, this is a perfect example of somebody who's religious who doesn't recognize that by denying them something, they're denying their religious privilege to something. We're not talking about equality here. We're talking about they want to be able to do something special and extra and privileged just because they're a Christian organization.
Yep. Where was I?
Makes me angry.
Anti-Christian groups objected to AIG's statutory right to limit its hiring to people of the Christian faith and to the content of the message that will be presented at the Bible-themed park.
Anti-Christian groups and fucking Christian groups and the state of Kentucky.
Oh, yeah.
And then it says, bowing to this pressure, state officials announced a reversal on December 10th, 2014, included as defendants in the lawsuit are Governor Beshear and Robert Stewart, Kentucky's Secretary of the Tourism, Arts, and Heritage Cabinet. In the video, Johnson explains the well-established legal principles supporting AIG's case and why these principles are so important to defend. AIG notes that all freedom-loving Americans, sounds like a straw man to me, should be concerned with these government abuses, regardless of their individual perspectives on the Book of Genesis. When such an unconstitutional state action goes unchallenged, it sets a dangerous precedent for all other religious and minority groups. And I totally agree. When such unconstitutional state action goes unchallenged, which is exactly why the government challenged it.
yeah.
Right.
Well, here again, we have another case of religious people beating people with their Bible stick, and they're getting upset when the government takes that stick away.
Well, and as Hammond says in his post, Kentucky was ready to give them the rebate. They had no problem with projects sponsored by religious organizations until AIG began posting job opportunities for Ark Encounter that required applicants to sign a faith statement. Trust me, Kentucky loves its religion. I promise you, if any group is being discriminated against, Christians are nowhere near the top of that list. But this isn't about Ken Ham's religion. It's about whether AIG followed the law.
Correct.
And they didn't.
No, and this was my point earlier, and I think Hemmett's making it here a lot more concisely than I was saying. But if Kentucky is having to back away from this because of the actual law and the way it's, believe me, it's the law.
Oh, yeah.
Because Kentucky would want to do everything they could possibly do to let this go by, let this slide.
This giant Noah's Ark exhibit.
But they just absolutely can't, even pulling every Christian string they've got.
Yeah.
This is absolutely unconstitutional and illegal.
Well, yeah, and Hemmett concludes his post with, there's just no way this lawsuit will go anywhere. I'm confident of that. Not because I'm a lawyer, but because I know how to read.
Yeah.
I don't understand how these attorneys could even think that this lawsuit will go anywhere.
They probably don't care because Answers in Genesis has a lot of money and they're going to get paid well for it.
Yeah,
I think ultimately this is all for show, and they're hoping to raise more money through donations from all of the Christians who are going to rally to their defense.
Yep, on this whole Poor Me campaign.
Yeah, it's just a giant way of peacocking to make sure that they get more attention than they were getting, so that they can get more donations to help build the park.
That could be.
Did you hear about this other lawsuit that got thrown out because of apparently your social security number is the mark of the beast?
It is.
I hadn't heard that.
You might want to check it out because a Christian fundamentalist who at the age of 18 decided he was no longer going to go to use his social security number anymore because he believes it's the mark of the beast. If that's actually the guy right there,
fucking crazy looking.
On my phone, he looks scary. Then we blow that photo. That guy should take his photo off of Shutterstock because that is fucking.
I like this right here.
That giant pimple right on his lip. And that one nose hair hanging out of the nose. I get that all the time. I always pull it out. Yeah, I could get that one.
Wow.
You got to pull that nose hair, buddy.
Boy.
So,
wow. But yeah, he believed that the government issued 9-digit identification number are foretold in the book of Revelation and associated with the Antichrist, and he renounced his social security number at age 18.
I renounced my social security number.
But
I declare bankruptcy.
The problem came when he had to get a
Thou
job.
shalt not track me.
The problem comes when you have to have a job.
Mm-hmm.
Sure.
What do you need to give them when you have a job? A social security number. So what this guy wouldn't put on his application is a social security number because he believed it was the mark of the beast.
I think that they should allow him to continue his life without a social security number, and then when he goes to retire, he gets to collect absolutely no social security income.
Well, instead, the company fired him. Then he filed a religious discrimination against them.
Religious discrimination.
Discrimination against him due to
the mark of the
religion.
beast, yeah.
Because he believed that. And this kind of goes back to the whole thing where we're saying, well, if you are allowed to have these beliefs and do whatever you want with that belief, this is what people start doing.
Well, and so apparently he believes this because U.S. law refers to Social Security numbers in the statute numbered 666, which is commonly understood as the biblical mark of the beast.
Right, or the Hebrew alphanumeric symbol for Nero.
It also reminds me of that girl that was running a cross country meet and she refused to run because her number was 666 and everybody was praising like, good job. Good on you for not participating in that, not letting you carry the mark of the. It's a fucking number.
I know.
She didn't do anything heroic.
I went
Nothing heroic.
I went to
about it.
Subway one time, and my receipt number was 666, and they're like, "Oh, sorry, 66, sorry, and we'll call that." And I'm like, I don't fucking
care.
But it's also important to note that on this website with this article is also an advertisement for Alex Jones.
Yeah, I don't think they controlled that advertising.
Maybe not, but
I'm fairly certain they've bashed Alex Jones a few times on Raw Story.
Oh, have they?
Well, and it's an article about Alex Jones defending Rand Paul's vaccine statement.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. So,
That guy's nuts, though.
Because Alex Jones calls CNBC host a tramp and a whore.
Oh.
he's
That guy's fucking nuts.
He is.
Yeah, dude. He so is.
He is like the definition of conspiracy theorist. Like, if you think of a conspiracy, I guarantee you can go on Alex Jones' show and find a conspiracy on there.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, my phone's vibrating.
Oh, it's your phone. I was like, are we getting feedback from the computer? So I hit mute really quick.
No, yeah. Alex Jones is fucking crazy. Which reminds me, though, did you guys see that whole thing about Rand Paul and vaccines?
No. What did he say? I've been gone for a few days.
That parents should have the right to not vaccinate their children.
Bullshit.
Yeah. He's an anti-vaxxer. Just one more reason to hate that ignorant asshat.
I mean, I don't even know if it's a justified validation for why you shouldn't vaccinate your kids, but if your kid does have a weak immune system and is sick, and that might harm him even more, that'd be about the only time I could say.
Well, and doctors would tell you don't do it.
Right, but it's important.
In your pre-screen before your vaccination. They say, "Are you cold? Or do you have a cold? Do you have any sickness? Are you ill?"
But at the same time, you're not going to be taking that sick child around other children that haven't been vaccinated.
Exactly.
Probably.
Those kids are the exact reason why everyone else needs to fucking go get a shot.
Mm-hmm.
Because there are some people who can't.
Yeah.
And they rely on herd immunity. So irresponsible.
But
and so uncritical.
Measles wasn't around, so I didn't see it justified to go and get my kid a measles shot because no one was having measles. So I didn't see no purpose. I mean, I don't want my kid getting that there brain issue where he's got stuff going wrong with him. I can't remember what it's called right now, but that one actress lady, she said her kid got it from the fucking shot.
Oh, Jenny McCarthy?
Yeah. She got sick.
She got sick.
Are we gonna play that really quick?
Well, so yeah,
and we have so much freedom now. We can do whatever we want. Half the show is just looking at YouTube shit.
I was born a donkey. It's the
Europe is breaking up with their.
What? Wow,
that's pretty funny.
This is from some radio show.
All right.
Donkey today for Tuesday, January 27th.
Donkey
goes
Day.
to former governor of Alaska and vice presidential candidate Sarah Palin. Now, Sarah Palin declared that she's seriously interested in running for president in 2016. And I don't know much about politics, but unless Sarah Palin is speaking a language that is appealing to Republicans and Republican supporters, then I don't think she's starting off on the right foot. She spoke at the Iowa Freedom Summit in Des Moines this past weekend, and she delivered a speech that had to be sponsored by Xanax, Vicodin, and vodka, and a couple of hits of Kush, because I have no idea what the hell she was talking about. I don't know what she was trying to convey. Let's hear it.
Oh, is this when she had to go off script?
Change.
Yeah.
Things must change for this our government. Look at it. It isn't too big to fail. It's too big to succeed.
What?
It's too big to succeed, so we can afford no retreads, or nothing will change with the same people and same policies that got us into the status quo, another Latin word, status quo, and it stands for, man, the middle class, everyday Americans are really getting taken for a ride.
That's a new definition.
Status quo. And GOP leaders, by the way, the man can only ride you when your back is bent. So strengthen it. Then the man can't ride you. American won't be taken for a ride because so much is at stake. And we can't afford politicians playing games like nothing more is at stake than, maybe just the next standing of theirs in the next election.
Nigga, what? You can put lipstick on a pig, but it's still a pig. You can have Sarah Palin wearing lipstick, speaking pig Latin, but tell you that it's Spanish, but it's still pig Latin.
She's fucking nuts, man.
Wow.
Yeah, she's lost it.
The incoherent ramblings of the mama bear.
Oh yeah.
And so that was where she went off script. Yeah.
Well, she had no script.
Right. Her cue cards
Yeah.
were
Well,
something
her
happened.
They say that her teleprompter broke,
Okay. Yeah. Right. I dare anybody after the whole presidency to try to dig up anything that horrific from Clinton
Well, and she
or Barack Obama.
and how many times has she fucking accused Barack Obama of not being able to do anything without his teleprompter?
Yeah. Well.
And then she goes on this fucking wild, crazy, incoherent, disjointed ramble.
I don't even know what that was.
Oh man. Maybe she was.
And she was going like that for nearly an hour.
Wow.
The man can only ride you when your back is bent.
So strengthen that back.
So strengthen your back.
Todd
And then he
Palin's
can't
going,
ride you.
Todd Palin's going, fuck.
It worked with my husband.
My man can't ride. The GOP, the man. I thought, like, she mentioned GOP and Republicans and then said the man, and I was like, okay, sure.
Yeah.
She just, I think, was using every word that she knew.
Government's too big to
And
succeed.
Trying to combine them together.
This is going to be the most tasty word salad anybody's ever come up with.
Is she running? She's not running, right?
Well, we don't know yet. She's in she threw her name in the hat pretty much already.
I hope she does.
Oh, that would be glorious.
I hope she does.
So, speaking of people who are running for president,
yeah.
Mitt Romney dropped out of the race.
Yeah.
People all over Utah were crying.
Yeah, I'm sure they were. Yeah.
They were so sad.
I'm a little bittersweet about it.
Why?
Well, I mean, I'd like to see as many
People vote
possible Republicans fucking shit up in the middle of, just taking votes all over the place as possible. But I just don't want to see, I don't know. I just don't like the guy.
Oh, no, I don't either. I think, well, that's why I was wondering why you were sad that he dropped out. But, after he got snubbed at that Republican convention,
Yeah.
nobody was going to donate to him. And
Yep.
there's also rumor that,
Yeah, he doesn't have enough money to run his own.
there's also rumor that Ann Romney had told him,
Get fucked.
you're not running unless you want to be running as the newly divorced ex-governor of Massachusetts.
Then he would really have no money.
I just thought that was funny.
Oh, wow.
But
The White Horse prophecy yet again will not be fulfilled by
Yeah.
Mitt Romney.
But people are always saying, like, Mitt would have made a great president. Look how good he is. He's a business owner. I'm like, no.
Yeah, that's totally
He
different.
buys businesses and he sells businesses.
Yeah.
And the ones that he keeps, usually he ships overseas so they can make more profit. He doesn't do business in the fucking U.S. His own state wouldn't even vote
he
for
does
him in the
some,
presidency. Yeah, but I mean, even that Bain, the company he
Yeah,
was
Bain
working
Capital,
for, that
yeah.
was being taken up. I can't remember what they were being.
Capital.
Yeah.
yes, it's Bain Capital. I'm trying to do a Batman.
Hello, Batman.
Stay in the shadows, Republicans.
There you go. That's a good one.
I couldn't get it.
You will all be laid off soon.
So you do a good Obama and a good Bain.
Bain. There we go. But weren't they being taken up on like federal charges?
Who's that? Bain?
Bain Capital was being taken up on federal charges, and I thought Romney's name
hadn't
was
heard
part
that.
of the lawsuit on that. This was in the news quite a while ago, and I haven't heard anything
Well,
much
yeah,
from it
when
then.
he was running against Obama.
This was
last time, right?
after this. This was like a year ago when this was coming out, where that lawsuit was happening, and everybody's like, "Oh, he didn't work for him." But no,
It sounds vaguely familiar because
Like, no,
because
according to
Romney
this year,
then Romney was trying to say that he
had
didn't
left the
really have
company.
that he didn't really have anything to do with day-to-day operations.
Yet he was the CEO.
just kind of a figurehead after trumpeting all of these things as being successes
Yeah.
for him as a businessman.
Yeah.
He tried to distance himself from it and say, "Oh no, that's not really me.
Isn't
I don't have any real say there."
Is he part of the Patriots coaching staff or what?
Those balls
Oh,
were fully inflated.
congratulations to your team, by the way.
No, that's not why I said that. I was just. But thanks.
They fucking deflated more balls.
I can't believe. What do you think of that last play call by the Seahawks?
I think it was the right call, and not because of the way it turned out.
Yeah,
I do. I mean,
was it? They'll never see this coming. We have one of the best running backs in the league for
No.
this sort of thing. Let's fucking throw it.
well, I mean, either way, I think it probably would have been good. But I mean, everybody in the fucking world knew Marshawn Lynch was going to get the ball on that carry. Everybody, and the Patriots did not take their goal line package out of the game at all. Their safety was Dante Hightower in that package.
Yeah.
They had 8 men in the box. Dante Hightower is a 250, 260-pound linebacker at safety. He was in there for run stop. They had to actually switch to put Butler in at corner when they realized they were going to possibly run a quick slant play. The problem with that play call was the execution. They had a stack package on the right side. So Jermaine Kearse's whole job right there is to jam his corner and push him back 2 to 3 yards to force that second corner to loop around to try to have to get to come underneath to cut that route by Jermaine Kearse or by Lockett, who's coming up underneath on that quick slant. There's no way he's going to get there. But the problem was he didn't anticipate that the corner was going to be Brandon Browner, who was ready for that jam, didn't allow him to give him any room. So Butler had a straight shot at that pick. There was no extra room to play there. So when they tried to run that slant, Butler was right there. It was the right call, bad execution.
Yeah, I don't even. But I would argue that I can see your points there. To do it on first down,
It was second.
well, to do it on second down, not the best call.
Why? Because if it's incomplete, then you get a free stoppage of the clock. You still have a timeout remaining. Then you give it to Lynch. 99 times out of 100, that's going to work. If it does, it's not going to get picked. I mean, this was a freak play.
Yeah,
It was a freak play.
yeah.
Was there an interception right at the end?
Wait. What's the? What,
Was there an interception right?
I
at
didn't
the
see the game. I have no fucking clue what you guys are talking about right now.
You were out breaking
there was
your
a-
ass.
Yeah, there was a goal line interception, but
Okay.
you said like there's some sort of conspiracy thing going on.
Oh no,
okay.
conspiracy, no conspiracy.
I mean, obviously, I wouldn't critique it if they gave it to Marshawn Lynch and he got stuffed either.
Yeah.
I would still say that would probably have been a good call either. I wouldn't know what to do right there. I mean, either one of those, they're really high percentage plays.
Yeah,
Both of them.
Is the quick? Yeah, I don't know.
A quick slant for 1 yard, yeah.
Yeah,
Russell Wilson was a little slow on his release. Jermaine Kearse was on his heels when he should have been out making a block on Browner and pushing him downfield. Didn't do that. Those things didn't happen. Butler didn't have to loop around. He had a straight shot on the ball. All of that stuff came into play, but it just was a freak kind of a deal.
yeah.
99 times that ball falls either completely harmlessly to the ground or it's connected for a touchdown.
Well, and regardless of the call, I mean, clearly God hates Seattle.
Yeah.
Oh, I was going to bring up the God joke.
He was sitting on it the whole time, just waiting. We're talking strategy, and he's just
waiting
like,
for it.
yeah, well, Seattle's a liberal city, and, you know,
I
they're
didn't mean to deflate your ball.
nice.
No, I was going to say Seattle didn't pray hard enough.
I don't know. Did you see Russell Wilson after the NFC Championship?
No, he still didn't.
Yeah.
The whole team didn't get on board
His
with
fucking
it.
face was melting. He was crying so hard. Yeah. Ugh.
Thank you,
Gross.
Jesus. He put his hand on my ass and controls my arm.
That's fucking gross.
Yeah,
Yeah, Seattle will be back. They're a good team.
yeah, they're a good team, and Russell's a decent quarterback. I think
He's a good
over.
quarterback.
I think I think he's not a great thrower. He's a good. He's
I think
good
he's
in
a
the,
great thrower.
He moves around really well. I think.
Dude, I think he's got a great deep ball, man.
Yeah.
Russell Wilson?
Well, I think that portion of his game is probably overstated. He moves around really well. He gives
Sure.
himself more opportunities to throw the ball.
Sure.
But without
think
those
he's pretty sharp,
opportunities,
man.
yeah.
I don't know. I like the guy.
And for as young as he is and everything, I mean,
it's his
I'm
third
not
year.
saying he's not a good quarterback.
Oh yeah, I think he's pretty great. But
I think he's just a bit overrated in the same way that I think Favre was overrated.
Favre was a good quarterback, but he also had the most amount of like
Interceptions.
bad records.
Yeah.
But he also threw the most touchdowns.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't know.
Yeah, I don't know.
Seattle's not. I mean, they'll be back.
Why won't you just let me be a goddamn critic? Jesus.
Sorry, Don.
So my friends know I do this podcast every Wednesday night,
Yeah.
and they said, "You still doing your cult show tonight?"
Cult show?
Yeah, they call it the cult show.
Which friends are these?
Oh, the guys I work with.
The Mormons?
No, well, this guy's not Mormon.
Oh, okay.
But he sent me a Bible passage just now. Jeremiah 29:11 through 13, NIV version. For I know the plans I have for you, declares the Lord. Plans to prosper you and not to harm you. Plans to give you hope and future. Then you will call on me and come and pray to me, and I will
You
listen
just sounded
to you.
like Bane there for a second.
You will seek me and find me when you seek me with all your heart. How should I respond?
You've been seeking him with all of your heart, all of your life, and those prayers have gone unanswered. How long does one need to search for Jebus before you can legally declare him dead?
I don't know.
It's not up to us.
Oh, it's up to Jesus.
We need to do it forever, and it's up to him when he'll
That
show
seems like
himself.
a total dick move.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's what you should say. Jesus is a dick.
Okay.
Jesus is a. Does your phone autocorrect it to Jebus? I think mine.
That'd be
does
funny. No, delivered.
All right, let's move back on to God stuff. It's not a sports show.
Okay, so we started with that little bit from
Stephen Fry.
From Stephen Fry,
Right.
and so also in the news this week was Stephen Fry delivering a little soliloquy during an interview.
I would call it a smackdown.
Yeah.
With Gay Byrne. And apparently, after this interview where Stephen Fry said what he did, Gay Byrne was so damaged by it that he is now receiving counseling following the airing of this episode.
It's crazy.
Yeah.
Apparently, according to a spokesman for RTE, apparently the network where this was aired, said that Gay Byrne felt a little faint after all of that "what's the crack with dead children, God, huh?" nonsense from Fry, so we had to let him have a lie down. But we can confirm he's booked in for intensive counseling. 6 months should do it. He has to go through 6 months of intensive counseling because of a 30-second, 1-minute clip from Stephen Fry talking about why he doesn't believe in God. That's so damaging to someone's psyche.
Oh, yeah. He had his brain checked. Stephen Fry checked his brain at not Stephen Fry's brain, but that dude's brain at the door and was like, dude.
Yeah.
Check it.
Well, and what Stephen Fry said was brilliant and lovely.
Yeah, I loved it.
I mean, he's very eloquent. He's very well spoken. He thinks about what he's going to say and is very good at spur of the moment things because he thinks about these things all the time.
Yeah.
It's not just, a lot of people think that atheists are just lazy intellectuals or we've given up or we haven't done our research or anything like that. Nothing could be further from the truth for most of the atheists that I know. Most of them started out as religious people who, through study of their religion or questioning their religion, researched their way out of that religion. Most atheists know more about any particular religion than most of the adherents of that religion. And, so these are things that Stephen Fry has thought about quite a bit.
Yeah.
I think I've got the little clip here queued up of the interview with Stephen Fry. I'll go ahead and play that now. It's gorgeous.
Suppose what Oscar believed in as he died, in spite of your protestations, suppose it's all true, and you walk up to the pearly gates and you are confronted by God. What will Stephen Fry say to him, her, or it?
I will basically, what's known as theodicy, I think. I'll say bone cancer in children? What's that about? How dare you? How dare you create a world in which there is such misery that is not our fault? It's not right. It's utterly, utterly evil. Why should I respect a capricious, mean-minded, stupid God who creates a world which is so full of injustice and pain? That's what I'd say.
And you think you're going to get in on
No,
that?
but I wouldn't want to. I wouldn't want to get in on his terms. They're wrong. Now, if I died and it was Pluto, Hades, and if it was the 12 Greek gods, then I would have more truck with it, because the Greeks they didn't pretend not to be human in their appetites and in their capriciousness and in their unreasonableness. They didn't present themselves as being all-seeing, all-wise, all-kind, all-beneficent. Because the God who created this universe, if it was created by God, is quite clearly a maniac, utter maniac, totally selfish. We have to spend our life on our knees thanking him? What kind of God would do that? Yes, the world is very splendid, but it also has in it insects whose whole life cycle is to burrow into the eyes of children and make them blind. They eat outwards from the eyes. Why? Why did you do that to us? You could easily have made a creation in which that didn't exist. It is simply not acceptable. So, atheism isn't not just about not believing there's a God, but on the assumption that there is one. What kind of God is he? It's perfectly apparent that he is monstrous, utterly monstrous, and deserves no respect whatsoever. The moment you banish him, your life becomes simpler, purer, cleaner, more worth living, in my opinion.
That sure is the longest answer to that question that I ever got in this entire series.
Wow.
The look on that guy's
You have
face.
to YouTube that one, because you've got to see Gay Byrne's face.
It is
he's
priceless.
You can tell he's contemplating. It's sinking in. It's actually in real time. It's making a difference in his mind at that point.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, the
Like, it
wide-eyed
really is affecting
stare,
him.
When he sits
and then
back.
leaning
Yeah,
back
and he sits
into
back
his
and
chair,
just
like,
shut his eyes for a minute. Yeah.
like, holy shit!
That
I'd
is when
never
the-
thought about that.
That is when it struck his brain.
Yeah.
You can see the moment at which his brain tweaks.
Yeah.
It's like
Just
the-
a little bit.
It's like the Kennedy film. Back and to the left.
Yeah. Back and to the left.
Yeah. You could see both of their brains spilling out at that moment.
Well, yeah, so apparently Gay Byrne is a big believer, of course, and that's why this came as such a shock to his system. I don't understand how a person can get to his age and not have had deep thoughts about what they believe.
Well, because there's been a moratorium on talking about this for decades. That's why. That's why it's so important. That's why there's this whole thing. Like, I just saw this meme the other day that had it had two people standing there, and it was old atheism, right? And the one person was like, I don't want to listen to you. Here's what I have to say. You just shut up. And then the atheist just sits there, and the other one's new atheism. You just shut up. No. And that's the whole difference, right? Because now this quote new atheism is just the fact that we're not willing to sit back and say, all right, fine, we'll let you do what you're going to do, and we'll just shut up. No, we're just saying, here's what we think too, right? You guys say what you think, we're saying what we think, and that's what they don't like.
Yeah.
And so we're challenging the status quo, the taboo of not talking about religion publicly. So some of these old folks have no fucking idea what it's like to have their views challenged. They just grow up in societies where everyone accepts it or everyone shuts up.
Or if you keep all your friends that just do nothing but reinforce your ideas.
Yeah. Well, that's why it's important for us to speak out about it.
Or make friends with Christians so we can unenforce their ideas.
Right.
Well, and to let people know that you are an atheist.
Yeah.
I mean, so many people go through their lives thinking that they know absolutely nobody who doesn't believe in God. That, there are so few atheists as to be completely irrelevant. There's just a very teeny tiny itty bitty really loud minority, that they like to treat us like we treat the Tea Party. They're just some, wide-eyed maniacs who, for some reason have chosen to not believe in God or have chosen to disbelieve in a God.
Yeah.
And that's just not the case.
Yeah. Force them to give embarrassing answers.
Yeah. Yeah, I still love that quote from you.
That's what we need to do.
Are we going to talk about this right now?
So sure.
Oh yeah.
Here in the pretty great state, as our license plates used to say at one time, The pretty great state of Utah.
Is that what they used to say?
Yeah. Yeah, that was the state motto for a little while.
The pretty great state?
A pretty great state. Pretty, comma, great state. And everybody was like, it's a pretty great state.
Well,
Sure.
Life Elevated is going to have to leave pretty soon, too, because they try to put everybody down.
Nice.
Yeah, speaking of putting people down here in the state of Utah, we have Representative Jacob Anderegg, Utah State Representative, who has introduced a change to a bill.
A marriage modification.
Yeah, it's House Bill 66 here in Utah for the 2015 general session, and it is marriage modifications. He's basically leaving the bill as it stands, but he's adding two very important, very shitty sections, or has proposed that these two sections be added to the end of the bill. He's adding Section 5, which states that a person authorized under subsection 1, which basically talks about who in Utah is able to solemnize a marriage, to officiate over a marriage, is not required and may be compelled to solemnize a marriage when doing so would violate the person's sincerely held religious beliefs, tenets, doctrine, practices, or the person's fundamental right to religious liberty.
Okay.
So,
which that also includes the court.
Yeah, and I was just going to say, on its face, I would have no problem with this if they change the wording or add a little bit to it to say this does not include public employees.
Right.
Yeah.
Because
it's already a law where a religious institution does not have to marry someone if they don't want to.
Well,
and plus,
yeah,
their whole part of it doesn't mean shit.
Yeah, I was just going to say, if they were to include that, that amendment you just added to this, there would be no difference from what the law already states.
Right.
It would be unnecessary. The whole purpose for adding this is to get religious privilege back,
Yes.
or to maintain religious privilege, and to continue discriminating against equal marriage equality.
Because what if the person who's filing this marriage license at the courthouse is looking at it and go, ooh, a same-sex marriage. I don't feel so good about this. Let's put it in the recycling bin because I'm not going to file this.
It could be
anything.
It could be anything. It could be atheists. They could deny it.
Yep.
If you're an atheist, they could
could be
deny it on the
interracial.
grounds of interracial. Right.
But the main reason why they're going after this whole bill is because of same-sex marriage.
Yeah, but it's not specific to that for a reason. He left it vague for a reason, but this also opens the door for discriminating and bigotry against other things, right? Like non-believers or Mormons and Jews or blacks and whites or whatever else. I mean, all kinds of stuff. What he's trying to do is say, all you have to do is say, well, this is against my religious doctrine, so nobody's going to marry you.
Yeah. Like, I'm waiting for a
Doesn't
cake
matter
shop
what it is.
not to make a cake for atheists. 'Cause
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
And how do you define a sincerely held religious belief?
Yeah, well,
how many times
is it just me telling you
Yep.
that this is what I sincerely
that's what he-
believe?
Yep, that's what he wants.
And it's not just that I sincerely believe it. It's in the name of whatever religion I happen to want to practice or say. It could be a completely made up religion. It could be something completely new. It's my own religion.
Yep.
It's a sincerely held belief of mine.
Because according to
it's not only that though. It's also tenets, doctrine, practices, or person's fundamental right to religious liberty. So there's all of those possibilities to discriminate as well.
Well, according to
it's
my
wide open.
According to my sincerely held religious beliefs, speeding tickets are bullshit, and I won't accept any of them because, according to my sincerely held religious beliefs, speeding tickets are of the devil.
Sure.
Unfortunately for you, it has nothing to do with marriage, and so would not be affected by this law.
But you could say that it's against my religion to marry a cop to a civilian.
Uh-huh.
You could say that. And that would still qualify under.
I was just going with the sincerely held religious beliefs. They seem to be putting that into every fucking law.
Well,
now
they're trying. Yeah, they're
to
trying
discriminate
to
against.
Yeah, and
then so Section 2 talks about the effective date of this law. It says that if approved by 2/3 of all members elected to each house, this bill takes effect upon approval by the governor or the day following the constitutional time limit of Utah Constitution, Article 7, Section 8, without the governor's signature, or in the case of a veto, the date of veto override. So basically, if they can get 2/3 of the House to vote on this, it would go into effect immediately.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So I've put a little. The state of Utah has an actually really great website. And you can go through, find all of the bills that are being introduced and discussed and everything. You can look at this. You can look at the bill's text, the status of it. You can add little trackers to it. So I've added a tracker to this bill that anytime it's updated, anytime the status of it changes or anything, I'll get a notification. And yeah, I mean, if I find out that this is moving forward and is looking inevitable, you can bet your ass that I will be out there and rallying as many people as possible.
Yeah, I mean,
I'll join you.
Is it fair to conclude that this is something of a response to the fact that the Supreme Court has
It's fast tracked,
taken down the ban on gay marriage?
Oh, yeah.
And so this is a new way to circumvent the Supreme Court ruling by adding more useless hullabaloo to the laws and getting new things passed that are going to be supported by, I would imagine, 2/3 here in Utah. I would imagine 2/3 are going to say, yeah, all the quorum of the 12 are going to think we're awesome if we pass this, and they're going to get it through. And
yeah, well, and it kills me because you hear Republicans complain all the time about the inefficiency and ineffectiveness of government, and yet he's spending how much of his time and other people's time on this stupid fucking bill.
Yep. That's already been deemed unconstitutional.
Yeah, that has already been deemed unconstitutional and is completely irrelevant just in the name of religious privilege.
Yeah, but and this is a quote from a friend of mine who's a conservative and a theist, but they're threatening our lifestyle.
Who's threatening whose lifestyle? Like gay marriage is threatening your friend's lifestyle?
No, it's a threat to the way that we choose to live. It's a threat to our culture.
No, only if you conceive it as a threat. There really is. I mean, no, yeah,
I'm just saying this is their response to that.
Yeah, and I'm responding to their response.
They don't view it as a separate thing. They're
he
really viewing it as threatening.
In what way does he view
I
it
don't
as
know.
a threat?
I don't know. I wish I had asked him, but I didn't.
Because sooner or later, they're going to be teaching our kids in school that it's all right to get gay married. And that's not right.
Yeah, or eventually you can marry your dog or your rock or whatever. Yeah.
And we all know where it leads next.
To the bestialities?
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
And the child abuse?
And I don't know where to go with that one, yeah.
Yeah, so I put a tracker on that. Currently, it's awaiting. Well, let me look at the status again here. It has gone to the House, to the Standing Committee, the House Judiciary Committee. That was on January 26th, and there hasn't been any movement since then. So, well, I'm keeping an eye on it, and we'll be sure to update y'all if anything changes on that. So we talked last week a little bit about the LDS Church's press conference and announcing that they would support LGBT non-discrimination laws as long as they still had the right to discriminate based on their religious beliefs.
Yeah, here are our demands, I think is what we said last week.
Yeah, and this is a fairly long article that talks about how the LDS Church basically, punked the national press by calling a press conference purportedly about their support of some basic LGBT rights for people. The press conference was, in fact, mostly about defending Mormons' rights to discriminate.
Yep.
And it shows a few of the different headlines that were around at the time. Mormon leaders from the New York Times, Mormon leaders call for measures protecting gay rights. ABC led with Mormon leaders call for measures protecting gay rights, and CNN says Mormon Church backs LGBT rights with one condition.
Yeah.
And, of course, of all of those, probably CNN is the closest to the truth. But the article says the new Mormon position is like that candy with a razor blade inside that your mom warned you about on Halloween. While calling for LGBTQ people to be protected from those who hate them or who hate them for non-religious reasons, and who are those people anyway, they've hidden their real agenda, which is to legalize such discrimination by anyone who claims their prejudice is backed by faith.
Yep, that's exactly right.
Yeah, I mean, all they're doing is seeking to they're seeking, legal precedent to use discrimination in different things based on their religious beliefs.
What if someone were to come out and say it's it's my right to religious freedom to marry 14 9-year-old women. What would the LDS Church say about that? Would they have such would this be so outrageous? Would they be so, what could they possibly say about that?
They probably wouldn't hold a press conference.
I would based on what they've done before, I would imagine they'd run to their fucking holes or whatever they've gotten and just stay out of the media altogether.
You know, and the part of this whole thing and gay rights in general that really
It's
bothers
just
me
rights.
as far, well, right, that's it exactly, is that they're not seeking any special rights. They're not seeking they're not seeking any privilege at all.
It's
They're
equality.
seeking to have the same rights that everybody else has,
Yep,
to live their
that's right.
lives to the fullest and be happy in whatever pursuits they choose.
Yeah. If
You know, to be able to marry who they love, to be able to hold a job, get housing, eat at a fucking restaurant.
Yeah.
It's nothing. There's no privilege there. They're not seeking extra rights that nobody else has. They
Right.
just want to be treated equally.
Right.
And you have people saying, well, I don't want to have to treat them equally, and so I'm going to create laws that say that I don't have to do that if
Yep.
I'm religious.
Yep.
That's bullshit.
Yep.
Is that something Jesus would do?
Well, we don't know. And nobody
Well-
knows. And that's the thing.
But that's what I'm saying. You know, they all say that Jesus was this kind and wonderful and welcoming guy who
was a Republican.
Yeah.
Yeah. They have no fucking idea who Jesus was.
Yeah.
No, he was a radical liberal who was homeless, had no fucking job, was not part of the 1%. None of that shit that they talk about today. Nothing to do with
Said to
anything.
take care of the poor,
Nothing. Yeah.
feed the hungry.
They have no idea what even the representation of Jesus they claim to hold, they don't even live to.
No.
Let alone who he really may or may not have possibly even been in history. Anyway, go ahead, Ryan, and your broken ass tailbone.
I just wish, I keep like clenching this chair. It's every time I move,
this
it
shit
fucking hurts.
drives me nuts, man.
I wish we could take the state of Utah to court over their basic cohabitation with the Mormon church. And basically how there is no separation of church and state. Basically going, hey, look at this.
Yeah.
Church comes out and says this, boom, lawmakers make a bill fucking on that side.
I
Church
know.
comes out and says this, boom, lawmakers are always on the fucking side of the LDS
I
church.
mean, the whole state legislature is active LDS. I mean,
the vast majority of them.
And I hate when people are always saying, well, if you don't like it,
Jim
get out.
Debakis
This
isn't maybe,
yeah,
but
well,
still.
and the legislature in Utah
fucking ridiculous.
has a larger majority of Mormons than the population at large.
Yep.
Which is already fucking filthy with Mormons.
Well, it's the same nationally as far as religious versus non-religious representation in government, period.
Yeah.
But, I mean, not just Utah, any state be able to take go to court and say, all these laws, they're blue laws. These are laws based off of religion. They should not be around. I mean, not just the gay marriage thing. I would even go with like liquor laws or just
on Sundays,
or stores not being allowed to be open on Sundays and getting rid of those laws saying if a store wants to be open on Sunday, they can fucking be open on Sunday. It's their fucking right to have their store open on Sunday.
Yeah, car dealerships in Utah are closed on Sunday
yeah.
because Larry H. Miller was the largest car dealer here and didn't want to have any fucking competition on Sundays.
Yep.
So they changed the law so that if you have a car dealership, you can't sell cars on Sunday.
Yeah, and guess what that has to do with? Tithing.
Tithing?
Larry H. Miller and his contribution to the church. And getting laws changed. Absolutely, it has to do with that. It's all about money. That's what churches all. They're corporations. That's all they are.
Well, yeah. I mean, the LDS Church officially is a corporate entity.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's the LDS Church Incorporated.
Yep.
And they should be taxed.
Yeah.
How much political influence they have.
Multi-billion-dollar corporation.
Yeah.
Yep.
I'm trying to think of the word for it. Someone that walks around trying to get politicians to do things for them.
Lobbyists.
The church is a lobbyist entity almost.
Oh, it is. It definitely is that. It's even beyond that sometimes.
But they're not taxed like a lobbyist.
Well, no, because they're a 401c3.
But they shouldn't be.
I agree.
Because of the fact that they do so much lobbying.
They should be, but 401c. Well, they should be taxed. Yes.
Yes. They're not allowed to do what they're doing.
Well,
based on tax code.
Under the laws, they are, but the laws shouldn't be the way they are.
It's
not constitutional, but yeah.
No, it's definitely not constitutional. It's illegal what they're doing. A religious organization is not supposed to have as much sway in political realm as the church does. They're non-taxpayers.
I agree, but I don't think it's illegal. But I think it's well, it's tricky because unconstitutional is illegal by definition, but
Well,
amendments have been made, changes have been made, so that they can get around that.
They're allowed to talk politics. They're allowed to be able to say to they're not allowed to tell their parishioners who to vote for, when to vote, how to vote, but they can talk about it a little bit. Now
they can put money into it too.
I thought that's illegal.
But they do, and so does the ACLU, who's also a 401c3.
But do they have lobbyists?
Yeah.
I thought lobbying was illegal underneath a nonprofit code, especially even for churches.
And they also have attorneys.
I don't know if the ACLU is a 401c3 or not.
I think it is.
Are they a nonprofit organization?
Yeah, I'm pretty sure it is.
And the way the law is stated with nonprofit organizations is that you cannot specifically endorse one candidate over another.
Yeah, you can't endorse a candidate over another, but you can.
You can do certain things, but you can't. There's a list of things that you cannot do, and that list of things you cannot do is repeatedly and consistently violated by several different organizations, including the LDS Church. But speaking about how dumb some of our lawmakers are here in Utah, there are a few bright spots. For example, Representative Angela Romero, Democrat of Salt Lake City, one of the very, very few Democrats holding office here in Utah, wanted to change the law about defining what rape is. Right? She wanted to change the definition of when a person gives consent to sex and when they don't, and had sought to change a bill. And then we get into this happy little video here where one of our Utah lawmakers is questioning whether having sex with somebody who's unconscious is actually rape.
Utah lawmakers debated this afternoon whether having sex with an unconscious person is rape.
Now, the debate was sparked by a bill that aims to redefine how the state views consent from a victim in assault cases. The bill's sponsor says it should be obvious, but lawmakers weren't so sure today.
Fox 13's Caroline Conley joins us from the state capitol tonight. Caroline.
Hi, Bob. Yeah, Representative Angela Romero says the current law, as it's written, is confusing. So she's made some changes to it that today seem to actually confuse and worry other lawmakers. Sitting before a panel of lawmakers, Representative Angela Romero laid out her case that she hopes changes the way rape cases are prosecuted.
To protect those who are most vulnerable.
Her bill, HB 74, would alter the definition of consent in Utah's current criminal code for sexual assaults, changing two key provisions. First, this line that says an assault has occurred if, quote, the victim has not consented and the actor knows the victim is unconscious. It would remove that line about consent there. And second, she wants to add a line, seen in red here, to this clause.
But at the end of the day, when we took out that language, if somebody's unconscious, you probably shouldn't try to attempt to have sexual relationships with them.
But lawmakers didn't entirely agree.
I'm not trying at all to justify sexual activity with an unconscious person. It's abhorrent to me.
This is Representative Brian Green.
I hope this wouldn't happen, but this opens the door to it. An individual has sex with their wife while she is unconscious, or he, the other way around, if that's possible. I don't know.
If that's possible, guys can't be raped, right?
A prosecutor could then charge that spouse with rape.
Advocates of the bill, though, pointed to other cases, like one that involved a local news anchor who testified here.
If I were your daughter, your niece, a friend, how would you want this law written?
And cases like this one from 2008 in Cache County, where prosecutors say their case was dismissed because they couldn't, quote, prove an expression of lack of consent through words or conduct.
Because they're fucking unconscious.
To the event happening to her, but because of that statute, that statutory language, the case was dismissed.
Attorney Donna Kelly helped draft the language for Romero's bill.
How can you express anything when you're unconscious?
In hopes of changing cases she looks at in the future. Now, despite concern from some lawmakers on the committee today, they did pass this bill unanimously, Hope.
Now, Caroline, what comes next?
Well, this will go to the full House for debate, and the representative says obviously she doesn't know if this will actually pass in the end, but she's glad they're having this conversation now. A lot of the lawmakers talking about this today kept saying it was a sensitive issue, and she says, yes, it's sensitive, but we need to be talking about it more, so she's glad at least that discussion occurred today.
All right, Caroline, thank you.
What that green guy said when he's like, well,
that green guy.
Well, if your
Jennifer
wife's
Mars
unconscious and he has sex with her, well, is that rape? Yes, you could fucking rape your own wife.
Yeah,
it's
well,
rape.
What if I wanted to sleep with my wife when she wasn't aware of it?
What if my wife
or
said,
vice versa, if that's even possible?
Yeah.
He doesn't know the guys can be raped either. That's
like last night, my wife said no, and I said, well, fuck you. You're my wife. I'm having sex with you.
You're my property. You must submit.
Must submit.
Yep.
That is not rape. No, Dick, that's fucking rape.
Yeah, so what horseshit, right? So
no dick. That's exactly what you need according to the law now.
So after this,
or not to be.
Of course, boatloads of people headed over to Representative Brian Green's Facebook page and started
blasting him,
commenting on a bunch of different stuff. He was carrying on a bunch of different conversations. Toward the end of the afternoon, he just ended up deleting all of them. Just deleting everything because it made him look bad, which it fucking did. I mean, his comments were bad. He was an asshole about it.
Yeah.
And so he just went through and deleted everything, and then Fox News has updated their website here that says that today he sent Fox 13 the following statement. There are comments I made in a committee meeting yesterday for HB 74 that have been taken out of context and have allowed my intentions to be misinterpreted. I'm sorry for any unintended pain that my statements have caused. They weren't out of context. People were directly quoting him, and he was trying to defend his comment.
Yeah, just Representative Green, would you please provide me the context in which rape is okay?
He seemed pretty clear to me.
I mean, this whole thing, this apology reeks of non-apology. It's, I'm sorry if you felt that way because I was an ignorant asshole. Instead of just saying, you know what, I was wrong and I was stupid and I said some dumb things and I apologize, he's still trying to defend what he said. Then he goes on and says, I abhor sexual assault under any circumstances, including within marriage. Currently, under Utah law, sex with an unconscious person without consent is rape. Which it's not. That's why they want to fucking make this change.
Add that wordage into it.
Yeah, it's not. Yeah.
I was concerned about a change in statutory language that would remove the element of consent and might have some unintended consequences. I was attempting to clarify the issue through the committee's discussion. From the beginning, I supported the intent of this bill and voted for it as it passed unanimously out of committee. I strongly support closing any loopholes that allow offenders to evade prosecution, and I believe this bill does that.
Then why did he say what he said? Why did he even fucking say that?
I was just trying to flush it out.
Yeah.
Just trying to get,
see how hard it is to...
I'm thinking outside the box.
We have to fucking verbally rape them to get them to change.
Yeah.
I mean, I can see playing devil's advocate, but while sitting on a panel talking about a bill, it's not a time to be playing like a devil's advocate. If that's what he was doing, I don't know.
Yeah, well, and clearly he hadn't given it any thought at all before he opened his fucking gob and started saying these horribly ignorant things.
Yeah, well, and obviously the Book of Mormon didn't give him any counsel on that either.
Ooh, was it? Was he not able to find the answer in the book?
Sure not.
Wasn't covered in any of the quad manuals.
No.
Nothing in the D&C, the Pearl of Great Price, Book of Mormon, or the Bible. Well, the Bible does talk about this.
Not even in the
but in the Bible
Smith
you get a free
or Joseph Smith history or anything.
In the Bible you get a wife right off the bat then though.
Oh, yeah.
Well, and if you rape somebody then you have to marry her.
Yeah. Do that again, that was funny.
What?
Do Bane again, just for whatever.
She belongs to me.
Have Bane make a comment about Mr. Green.
Mr. Green has been working for me for years.
It hurts to laugh.
In her broken ass.
Hurts to laugh with my broken ass. So I posted on Facebook earlier this week that next week we will be graced, if I may, with the presence of Sarah Clausen Kramer and Mr. Mark Lawrence.
Yeah.
Both from Restore Our Humanity. I'm very, very excited about this. They want to
kicking headphones.
They want to come on and talk about the upcoming convention for the World Congress of Families.
It's supposed to be in October?
Yes. Yeah, end of October, and like the 26th through the 28th, something like that.
You know there's going to be a rally for that thing out there.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, this is... So, you know, I think I had heard a couple rumblings, whatever, about the World Congress of Families in the past, and that they would be hosting some convention here, whatever. I had no idea how fucking horrible this group is until Sarah contacted me and asked if they could come on the show to talk about this. So I started reading some things. World Congress of Families is fucking awful.
I had known a little bit about their history with the whole Africa thing, the whole let's make laws. Uganda, kill the gays.
So what I learned just 2 days ago, so I learned through doing some research and reading some different things that, of course, the Southern Poverty Law Center has pronounced the World Congress of Families a hate group, or they've labeled them a hate group because of their anti-LGBT stand on different things. And I learned while doing some of this research that Elder Dallin Oaks, member of the Quorum of the 12 for the LDS Church, is an honorary board member for the World Congress of Families. So finding this out, the day after or 2 days after the LDS Church comes out with their, oh no, we're going to pretend that we're nice and fluffy toward the gays now and we're going to support equality, while having him be an honorary board member for the World Congress of Families struck me as completely destroying any argument that says that the LDS Church is actively and honestly and earnestly pursuing equal rights for the LGBTQ community.
Yeah, you can basically call bullshit right there on that.
Yeah.
I mean, if it was already bullshit to start with, and now it's confirmed.
Yeah. I mean, basically it's stabbing you in the back while smiling at you.
Yeah. And well, not only this group, but was his name Cathy from Chick-fil-A, the guy that passed away?
Dan Cathy?
Dan Cathy. I thought he was a supporter of the same thing in Uganda.
Did Dan Cathy die?
I thought he died.
I haven't heard that.
I thought
Dan
I remember
Cathy died.
the Chick-fil-A dude. I thought he died. Yeah, there you go. Dan Cathy death. Dan Cathy dead. But I thought that he.
No, S. Truett Cathy, Dan Cathy's dad is dead. He died in September.
Oh,
but I don't think Dan Cathy's dead.
Was it the founder of Chick-fil-A? Was he the founder?
S. Truett Cathy's the founder.
Okay, maybe that's what I remember seeing was the founder of Chick-fil-A had died.
Yeah.
But I thought they also were a group that was giving money over to Uganda for the whole trying to get the law passed to kill homosexuals over there too.
Chick-fil-A's food is flavored with the tears of gay people, for sure.
I thought that was Starbucks, or was that just semen?
No, Starbucks is actually fairly progressive. They support all kinds of LG. Not that I drink their coffee because I think it tastes like horse piss. But
no, they're good proponents. I was talking about the New York pastor who kept going off and saying that
because he bought
Starbucks
into that.
makes their coffee out of gay men's
They
semen.
flavor it with the semen of sodomites, and he bought into that whole.
Nice.
That was funny. I mean, the way the guy talks. I mean, it was...
So yeah, next week we'll have Mark and Sarah on the show. I love both of them. They're both awesome people. I think Mark is one of the most humble people I've ever met. I have online made the comparison of Mark Lawrence to Shoeshine Boy from Underdog because he is both humble and lovable.
Nice.
I think the first time I actually met Mark, which
and a bit of a superhero.
Yeah, which you probably won't remember, was at when the state capitol was doing the rally when gay marriage had passed, and then they had taken away the Let It Stand rally at the state capitol. I went down with my camera, I was kind of videotaping. I was standing outside, and I saw him. I just kind of went over and I recognized him from the news. I'm like, oh, you're Mark Lawrence from the news. And I just kind of stood there and had a real short conversation with him, and yeah, he's a really nice guy. Then me and Matt talked to him at the Pride Fest this last year and got him on video talking about Restore Humanity. So if you haven't seen that, go over to Atheist Utah on YouTube and you can see him talking on there.
Yeah, and if you don't know anything about Restore Our Humanity, be sure to tune in next week. Restore Our Humanity and Mark Lawrence are the ones who basically kickstarted the whole ball of wax that made marriage equality law of the land here in Utah.
And if it wasn't for them, it probably wouldn't be at the Supreme Court level that it is now.
Yeah, they certainly contributed to that a huge amount.
Yeah, because they're the ones that found the defendants. They're the ones that got everybody gathered together, got as much money, got the lawyers and everybody, and basically steamrolled the whole...
Yeah, without any support from groups like Equality Utah, HRC... without any support from national or other local groups, Mark went out and did this on his own, started Restore Our Humanity, found the plaintiffs, found the attorneys. I mean, he put it all together. He's pretty fucking phenomenal. I'm really excited to have him on the show.
Yeah, I'm excited to have him on, just kind of talk and get some stuff out. Yeah, because I think he's an awesome dude. I voted for him on the Salt Lake Tribune site for Man of the Year.
Yeah, so did I. Yeah, he's a great guy. He's a great guy. So yeah, I look forward to speaking with them both next week and hearing what their plans are for the World Congress of Families Convention here in Utah. They're an awful group, so that should be a lot of fun to talk to them about that.
And the worst groups always give themselves the most cushiest names.
Yeah.
World Congress of Families.
Well, it's all of these names that just by the name you would have no idea really what's going on, or it's an effort to make them sound innocuous or nice or friendly or whatever. It's
Focus on the Family.
Yeah, Focus on the Family, the American Family Association, World Congress of Families, and then it's things like the Clean Air Act, which stripped the EPA of a lot of their power to actually clean up the air. How is anybody going to say no or vote against something called the Clean Air Act? Clearly, it's got to be good, right? It's right there in the title. It's the Clean Air Act. No,
it's just politics.
Look
who's putting it up for vote.
What's that?
I said, look who's putting up for vote. When they own coal mines and refineries, they're not looking to really clean your air.
Yeah.
And I did notice that the newspaper put out where the president is planning on spending the money this next go around on the budget, and he increased the EPA's budget 50%.
He should increase it 100%.
But reading the comments from people going ape shit on that.
Why would I want clean water and clean air? Fucking shit.
Wasting our money. They're not. You're going to drive our fuel prices up.
Yeah. Well, these are the same people that think that the world's only been around 6,000 years and they can burn all the fucking diesel fuel they want, and God won't allow that to destroy the earth.
Well, that just reminded me, because I gave that as a reply to Tracy when she told me yesterday. She was talking about, I guess over the weekend there was
3 fucking e-cigs now.
Yeah, I kind of do.
All right, sorry. Anyway,
so apparently over the weekend there was a rally at the Utah State Capitol. Because the air here in Utah is fucking terrible, right?
Last year it was second worst in the world.
Yeah, it's
China
usually
was number one.
It's usually compared with Houston, Los Angeles, and Newark
combined,
which is
And
really
China.
bad when you consider the population.
Yeah. So our air quality here is really, really awful, particularly during the winter months. This year, because the weather's been more mild, it hasn't been as bad as it has been in years past, thankfully. But of course, then we have the flip side of that, where we have no water and it's really warm, and we're probably going to all be on fire during the summer. So apparently, there was a rally about clean air at the Utah Capitol, and there was a counter demonstration of fucking assholes just driving around the Capitol, idling their cars to say, "Fuck you guys, we'll mess up the air as much as we possibly can." And we don't give a shit. I don't understand the mentality of these kind of people. It's the same kind of assholes who roll coal in their big fucking diesel trucks.
That's exactly what I was thinking about.
Yeah. Like, what kind of person does that? You know the kind of person that does that? Somebody who thinks Jesus is going to come back and set everything straight and would never allow the world to fucking kill us all.
Yep.
As I drive a Hummer.
That's what it is.
But it's a Hummer 3. It's smaller.
Yeah, it's smaller. It does better.
It's newer.
Gas.
It's got about the same gas mileage as my car.
Yeah.
It's not as earth destroying as it could be.
It could be.
You're
worse.
not out rolling coal.
No. And I don't usually, I'll have days where I'm like, I don't need to go anywhere really, so I'm not going to go anywhere because I
try to combine trips, try to carpool with other people. Yeah.
Here's a good question. How much? What was Jesus's carbon footprint?
Well,
probably pretty much damn near zero.
Yeah.
I mean, it would have been pretty fucking low.
Besides his methane production.
Was Jesus particularly gassy?
Out of his mouth?
I mean,
yeah.
I can't imagine what the foods they ate back then. They wouldn't have been particularly gassy.
A lot of fish.
But I'm just saying, I mean, you know, they're following modern politics, modern American politics, particularly bad politics, and not Jesus at all, even though they claim it.
Yeah, and by bad, we're talking about doing actual harm to people.
Actual harm to people and to the environment.
Yeah.
But I'm going to bring it back to hate groups really quick, and I'm going to have you bring this up, because I didn't actually read. I saw the headline in the article. KKK.
They're a hate group now?
Blacks and gays in.
Is this like is this like how the Catholic Church says that atheists can go to heaven?
That's what I'm not 100%. I don't know if it's there. It is to Jews
from the Daily Mail.
Oh, Jews and blacks.
I'm actually kind of thinking that they're just like, well, we're losing this fight of being all white.
How can we get more members? How about we invite the people that we've been treating like shit all of these years?
So we can just, I mean, yeah, it's a recruitment drive to get more people to join the fucking cake. It's a
so this is from the Daily Mail, and it says, the headline says, Ku Klux Klan opens its doors to Jews, homosexuals, and black people in bizarre recruitment drive. White supremacist group Ku Klux Klan is rebranding as the New Klan. Founder wants Jews, black people, gays, and those of Hispanic origin to join. Rebranded the Rocky Mountain Knights, claim to stand for a strong America.
That to me means we want a Christian America, because Ku Klux Klan has always been a hardcore,
they've always been biblical,
racist group.
And it does say that the new recruits will have to wear the white robes, masks, and conical hats. This I don't understand. So in reading through the article, it says it's a white supremacist organization notorious for homophobic and racist violence, including lynchings of black people. But the Ku Klux Klan is now looking to diversify and increase its membership to include Jews, black people, homosexuals, and those of Hispanic origin, with a rebranding as the New Klan. All those wanting to join the extreme right-wing group. Why is it that when we talk about extreme groups here in the United States, it's always the right-wing groups?
Because I have never. The only people who I can think of that would be a extreme left wing group are the people that chain themselves around trees so they won't get cut down or protesting.
And there are groups like Greenpeace and shit like that.
But this is kind of like the difference of talking about Islamic extremists versus Jainist extremists. What it depends on is the core of the fundamentals, right? What you actually believe at the core. If you become more fundamentalist to extremes of extremity, right? If you have these nasty views, you just become nastier and nastier. If the core of your views are good, you just become more peaceful and more open. And
you
more
become
willing.
extremely peaceful,
right? So the problem is the fundamentals.
Extremely good, extremely
and not the fundamentalists necessarily, but
extremely charitable,
right?
So it goes on and says the rebranded organization called the Rocky Mountain Knights claims to now stand for a strong America rather than irrational hatred. White supremacy is the old Klan. This is the new Klan. The KKK is for a strong America, said Mr. Abar, who is the president or the founder
Mr. Abar.
Mr. John Abar.
Okay.
Founder of the Rocky Mountain Knights. Okay. Rocky Mountain Knights, that's got to be...
Reminds me of Rocky Mountain oysters.
Right?
Yeah, so
we're talking like Denver, Utah.
I have two things. Sorry.
They might have been smoking
Colorado, Utah.
Some weed and been like... The KKK was all like, weed's legal here in Colorado now. They're all smoking some joints. Like, you know what? We don't hate people no more.
Yeah, I would just want to pose a question to Mr. Ken Ham and all of his whining and crying about religious persecution. The fucking KKK is still here.
Yeah.
Right? We still allow it.
Yeah.
You want to talk about persecution? And here's my second thing, and this is to the KKK. If you want a new Klan, drop the fucking name. Mm-hmm. Just like all you fucking idiots that want to call yourself Christian, but you don't believe the Bible, then fucking call yourself something else, because you should be held to that.
I don't even know what Ku Klux even. Does it have an actual? Is there a translation to it?
Yeah, I think it's Greek. I think it comes from Greek. I don't remember exactly what it means, but
I have no idea. I'm sure there's some reason that they would choose such a silly name,
but even there, they say their membership right now is between 5,000 8,000 members.
That's tiny.
Yeah.
It is tiny, but at one point they were like in the hundreds of thousands of members.
Yep.
They had huge parades and demonstrations in the street, and everybody was happy with them.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
So I've been on a Ken Burns documentary kick lately. So I watched his documentary on the Dust Bowl, which was awesome. I learned a ton of shit during that, and I'm currently watching his series on Prohibition.
Okay.
And I learned that the KKK was a very large and influential group among the teetotalers who thought prohibition was a great idea. Didn't know that before. And I also learned that teetotaler doesn't come from somebody who drinks tea only and eschews alcohol. The teetotaling comes from the groups who advocated total abstinence, as in capital T, total abstinence.
Okay.
I thought that was kind of cool. I'm learning all kinds of fancy things, man.
Well, because I know that during, I'm trying to think, it wasn't the 19th, it was the 18th or 19th Amendment that was prohibition. I think it was the 18th Amendment.
18th.
Was prohibition. The 20th Amendment was
the repeal
of prohibition. But, I mean, they took away, that was when alcohol, marijuana, cocaine, all that stuff was like taken off as, put on lists as, controlled substance prohibited because
Schedule 1 drug.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, and it's interesting too, to learn all of the different creative ways that people were skirting the law against alcohol, and basically the law was so riddled with loopholes and was written so weakly that there were all kinds of things people could do to get around it legally. But at that point, because it was so weakly written and people were getting around all of the laws so easily because it was written so weakly, they started doing things illegally, because how do you determine then who's doing it legally and who's not doing it legally? And
well, I know one problem they had when prohibition was going on was you could legally get alcohol if it was for like a doctor's office.
Yeah, you could get a prescription to have alcohol.
But they were learning that rum runners and bootleggers were then distilling that and taking the pure alcohol out of it and mixing it with other stuff. So they put in a substance that could not be distilled out, but if it was ingested, it would kill you. So you ended up with a lot of moonshiners drinking their own moonshine from tainted alcohol and dying because they were putting the substance in it that could not be removed while distillation.
Well, and a lot of the moonshiners and everybody were cutting their product much like, I'm guessing, cocaine or whatever else is cut with different substances, and they would use things like paint thinner, turpentine, kerosene.
Cocaine's cut?
I don't know. Not I'm aware of.
The other funny story I thought from Prohibition was when the international waters got pushed out. Before Prohibition, international waters were at 5 miles. People were taking and making homemade torpedoes and launching torpedoes filled with alcohol from 5 miles offshore and beaching them on the beach. And the rum runners would come down, pull the alcohol out of these homemade torpedoes from boats, bringing alcohol from like Mexico and Cuba, and run it on shore.
Oh, man,
that sounds like another Christian group. Sorry. International Waters.
Well, and I'm learning the history behind so many of the different things that, I've just grown up saying or hearing other people say my entire life, like Skid Row. Skid Row was an actual place.
Yeah, in New York.
Well, it's still in that. I thought it was in L.A. I thought it was a Skid Row in L.A. with the homeless.
It was back east.
It's in New York.
Yeah.
Okay, because I thought that's what they call the famed homeless street in L.A.
But terms like Skid Row, the etymology of bootleggers, the term bootleggers,
hiding the leg
was
boot,
people hiding
alcohol
flasks and bottles in their pant leg.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And that's also where the mixed drink came from, because people were making such nasty fucking alcohol, they had to mix it with something sweet.
You know what show you'd like, Dan?
Huh.
America's Secret Slang.
Oh, yeah.
That is a good one. Yeah.
It's fucking great. Yeah, he talks about all that, like, redneck and stuff.
Yeah.
And that has been synonymous with hillbilly since the very beginning, even before the United States.
Yeah, well,
It comes from Scotland, Ireland.
Well,
but,
and during the Dust Bowl thing that I watched, I learned where the term Okies come from. And it was from people immigrating from Oklahoma to California when the Dust Bowl, after they'd lost their farms, they'd lost their homes, all of their equipment, everything. And a bunch of people moved to California, the people in California treated them the same way they were treating the Irish and the Jews and the blacks. And we're referring to these people from Oklahoma as Okies.
Well, you know where the word hobo comes from?
No.
Wisconsin.
Homeward bound.
Homeward bound.
During the Civil War, when soldiers were trying to get, when they're trying to go home, they would jump trains to get back north from the Civil War.
Interesting.
And they were hoboing it. They were homeward bound on the tracks.
Nice.
So now it's synonymous with homeless people riding the tracks instead of soldiers during the Civil War trying to get home. Hobo, homeward bound.
So this country's never taken care of its vets?
No.
Okay.
Actually, I think I wanted to say it was after the Civil Wars when the VA started coming around after wounded veterans went to the Capitol and said, "Look at this!
Yeah,
I fought for this country, and now I'm missing limbs and legs, and I got no compensation. I can't do any more work. I can't work my farm. I can't do this. I can't do anything now after fighting for this country."
Tea Party policy, I'm guessing, that instituted VA.
Not so much. No,
I wouldn't go with Tea Party.
Republican.
I would say more human. Like, these people really did sacrifice themselves and tried to do something for this country, and now they're basically they can't do anything the rest of their life. Maybe we should give them a little help.
Well, and it's funny too hearing about all of the stories throughout history of, the rampant corruption that was happening throughout Prohibition, and that at the heart of it primarily were these Republican elected officials.
Yeah.
And the Democrats were pushing to have Prohibition ended, and the Republicans were like, no, keep it in place because we're making a fuck ton of money.
And having a good time at these fucking underground bars. I mean, look at this shit.
But even during Prohibition, Prohibition never worked. There was still bars. There's probably more drinking during Prohibition than before Prohibition.
Oh, all the speakeasies and everything?
Yeah, because it was in the open. The people weren't hiding. Like, everybody thinks, Prohibition, everybody's hiding in these underground.
Well, they were a lot. They were doing a lot of that, but...
They were. But here was one other stupid little law they put in place with Prohibition. You were not allowed to make any more alcohol for consumption. So if you can say, I had this alcohol on hand, I had a stockpile, you were allowed to sell it.
Yeah, as long as you had the alcohol pre-institution of the law, you could still have it, you could still sell it, you could do whatever.
And if you refill a bottle, how do they fucking know when you got it?
Well, and they talked about in Ken Burns' docufilm that, people could see the writing on the wall and knew that this law was coming, so they started just mass generating all kinds of alcohol and stockpiling it, and so there were bars who had enough alcohol that they could have operated for 75 years just on the stock that they had on hand.
Right.
Yeah, so it did no good.
Yeah, it was silly and ridiculous. It basically, Prohibition created organized crime and institutionalized graft.
Yeah. It was a bad idea.
It's really interesting. I'm totally digging it.
Should we hit an article?
Sure.
We can blow Ken Burns another time too. Why do we have to account for uniformity?
So who now?
Why do we have to account for uniformity?
Like in the universe?
Yeah.
Like the uniforms people wear?
Uniformity and the laws of logic. Why do we have to account for it? The answer is this: in order to be rational.
What? Who's? So what is uniformity, and who is saying why should we account for it?
Well, this comes from Answers in Genesis, and it's a response to a question that they got online. And this is the response from Dr. Jason Lyle. And sometimes it can be a little bit confusing to try to figure out exactly where their education is. Sometimes it ends up just being, like I have a degree in truthology from New Testament Tech or whatever. So I don't know what this guy's thing is, but he says that the answer is to be rational. The mark of rationality is to have a good reason for what we believe. I agree. And remember, it is biblical to have a reason for what we believe. 1 Peter 3:15. The two key forms of irrationality and inconsistency and arbitrariness. You can imagine
arbitrariness is that a word?
I don't know, but that's what he says. You can imagine that when an evolutionist asked why I believe in creation, if I replied, "Oh, there's no reason, it's just true," then he would rightly point out that this is arbitrary and irrational. And yet evolutionists do not have a good reason on their own professed worldview for their belief in uniformity or for laws of logic. They are therefore being irrational. Biblical creation is the only rational position because it alone provides a reason for those things we take for granted, like uniformity and the laws of logic. So my first thought was accounting for, quote, laws in this instance, at least, is a red herring when considering evolution. Right? It has nothing to do with it. Evolution doesn't even make claims on the laws of logic or rationality or anything.
No,
like that.
it speaks nothing about it at all.
Right, so it's also a straw man, right? Because it's not making claims of that type at all. It's also possible to accept evolution and believe in God. So this whole paragraph is basically a straw man in a sense. Then,
yeah, it seems kind of silly.
He goes on to say that it's fine to pose a hypothetical universe with stability and laws of logic, but those things would still need to be justified. How could we possibly know that the laws of logic are invariant and not that they simply have not changed so far?
Well, and who's to say what the logic? Who is he saying created the laws of logic, and what are they?
Well, I think
I think he's saying God created the laws of logic. Logic.
But his basic point is that we can't even use those without attributing them to a god. That's his whole point of this whole thing. Let's just I'll skip ahead because that whole thing is basically about that. He goes on to say the Christian worldview is not a mere assumption, which yes it is.
Mm-hmm.
It's a worldview that makes knowledge possible, and then he refers to Proverbs 1:7 and Colossians 2:3, which seems to be a circular argument as far as I'm concerned. It alone provides the justifications for those things we are. It alone provides the justification for those things we need for reasoning, such as laws of logic and uniformity. He goes back to that, and that's a pretty good reason to believe in Christianity. How he gets to that, I don't know.
It's a pretty good reason to believe in Christianity. Yeah, that's just
Uniformity
kind
and
of
the
like
laws
he's
of
talking, and threw something in there, like
right. Instead of what about Allah?
Yeah,
right? Couldn't he account for those the same way?
Or Judaism, or I mean any Pastafarianism,
right? Or Zeus,
which is why I kind of like the why do we have to account for?
Yeah, we don't.
You don't.
Yeah, we don't. I know. He's trying to say that we. Yeah, he's trying to say that we do, and that it's not only that it's God, but it's also the Christian God somehow. Even presuppositionists require a reason. It's just that the reason is provided after the fact in the case of a presupposition. In summary, a good reason to believe in the Christian worldview is that without it, we couldn't reason at all, which is simply an assertion.
Yeah, well, yeah.
He hasn't done anything to demonstrate that whatsoever. And I skipped a whole bunch of this article because it's so terrible. It's one of the most transparent presuppositions I've ever read. And I think from now on, I probably won't be drawing from Answers in Genesis at all because it's so. I mean, they claim doctorates, but they're so fucking. I mean, they're so terrible.
It's so convoluted, and they throw in all of this stuff to make them to make themselves sound intelligent.
Well, it's just what William Lane Craig does, but this stuff is so easy to refute.
Yeah.
Or we just need to make a segment on the show called Answers in Genesis.
Or just answers. Yeah.
Just answers. And read
This Week in Dipshittery?
Yeah, just read something from Answers in Genesis and,
we could do
and
that.
leave it there.
Yeah.
Could do that.
I suppose we could.
I know.
Yeah, we're working on making this show more diversified.
Yeah, let us know.
We're diversification.
Yeah, just like our portfolios. We'll be adding some of them catchy sound bites and all that stuff. We just got to make them yet.
Just let Mitt Romney handle your portfolio.
Oh, I should get that sound bite.
Which one?
Mitt Romney's portfolio. Just find something with Mitt Romney's portfolio and
Binders full of women.
Yeah. for a good sound bite, or we can do it, Bane.
Do what?
Do it.
My binders full of women.
Oh. Dan's got a pretty good one now. Going.
Well, after I heard you do it, I was like, oh, I could probably do that because my first attempts failed.
You just gotta go back.
Yeah, that helps a lot.
It helped.
It does help a lot.
In my head.
Binders full of women.
I've got binders full of women. Next week, we'll all talk like Bane.
Oh, that would be a horrible episode if we all did that the whole time.
My mouth would be sweaty because I'm talking into my hand the whole show.
People are probably listening going, what the fuck are they doing?
Yeah.
It's just weird.
Yeah.
All right, what else we got?
Well, there's a whole big thing about Mother Teresa.
Yeah, that's coming out.
I haven't responded to this guy who made some comment. Richard Dutcher.
He's made a few comments.
Yeah, he's made a few comments that a lot of people agree with that I completely disagree. I'm guessing he must have posted something on his wall about it.
Yeah. What's his stance on Mother Teresa? Basically, that she's still a saint, or?
So yeah, he deleted one of his. Oh no, there it is.
Holy shit! You got 77 things on your fucking thingamabob.
Oh,
you are popular on the Facebooks.
No, I have a hard time keeping up with the Facebooks these days. There's tons going on. So Richard Dutcher says that he had lost a lot of respect for Penn and Teller after somebody else had posted a comment with a link to their video talking about Mother Teresa and, you know, how she wasn't a saint. She was a pretty horrible person.
Yeah.
And so he says that he lost a lot of respect for Penn and Teller.
For telling the truth?
If you're not sure about what we're talking about, read The Missionary Position by Christopher Hitchens.
Yeah. Or I'll also post a link to so this is all about an academic paper that will be coming out that has been researched and peer reviewed by people who went out and looked at Mother Teresa's impact on the world and what she did and some of the things, you know, some of her actions, where the money came from, where it went, how people were treated who went to her missions, how many missions were open, what they were for, all of that good stuff, right? Mm-hmm. And it basically boils down to she did a little bit of good work, but compared to the amount of suffering she made people go through, the amount of money that she brought in, the good she could have done.
Yeah, it's a perfect microcosm for the Catholic Church.
Yeah.
Well, the Catholic Church you can't say that they're bad because they do good. Yeah, they do some good. Mm-hmm. But compared to what their potential is, it's fucking abysmal.
Right.
Yeah.
And when you look at the harm that is inflicted because of them and their beliefs and power, overall,
and how many billions they have that they don't
organization.
Yep, exactly.
Yeah.
Same with the LDS Church.
Nothing is purely evil. Nothing is purely good. Sure. But when you look at everything, you know, when you weigh the evidence on both sides, you can see that the Catholic Church does a lot more harm than good.
Yep.
The same can be said for Mother Teresa.
Yep. And
so
the problem is when a group. I mean, I think everyone's willing to give some, right? Very few people are going to just write you off for one mistake, right? Or one shortcoming, right? That's fair. I don't think most people wouldn't do that. But the fact is, when you're talking about something like the Catholic Church or the Mormon Church, right? These are groups that are claiming to have the perfect word of God.
Yeah.
And there's that big of a gap between what's potential and what's actually being done. Then you can justifiably say, yeah, that's fucking wrong. You're not holding up your end of the bargain based on your claims. Not at all.
Yeah.
I think that's the big problem.
So Richard Dutcher is an independent filmmaker. He's somewhat famous. I don't know, he's famous. But he commented on. I'd have to look up the work he's done.
Okay.
I think it's local stuff. But so I asked him why he had lost a ton of respect for Penn and Teller after watching their video, and he says it was an asshole-ish approach. And there are so many truly evil people to go after. Why attack someone who inspires kindness and goodness in so many people? Sure, she was flawed, and sure, her religion took their piece of her earnings, but she did a lot of good and relieved a lot of suffering. Why do you think there were so many sick and dying people on those little cots that these fuckers criticized? Because those little cots were under a roof and there was a toilet, even though they had to share, and someone walked by now and then to at least make an effort at caring. Outside, things were a lot worse. That's why there were so many people inside. Nobody was forcing people to stay there. They could have died anywhere. There are so many things wrong with this fucking comment.
Yeah. And not to be accused of a poisoning the well fallacy, but I mean, a lot of this stuff I covered before we even read this. But I mean, are you telling me that she couldn't have reached out to the leadership of the Catholic Church and they couldn't have spent a fraction of a percentage of their total net worth to be able to house these people properly so they wouldn't have died?
Well, it's,
you know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's kind of like the what state was that had the clinic for unwed mothers, where they found those hundreds or thousands of dead baby corpses afterwards.
Yeah, because, and
that was
birth control was terrible.
So let's let these unwed mothers come here, give birth, and we drown the babies.
Yeah, but I mean, so he starts out with, it was an asshole-ish approach. That's tone trolling.
By Penn and Teller?
Yeah.
Okay.
That's tone trolling.
Yeah.
You're telling people that they can't talk about other people in a certain way. Fuck that. That's stupid.
Sure.
And then he goes on and says, and there are so many truly evil people to go after. So, do we only have to go after the evil people? Do we only have to go over the people that are purely evil?
Right.
Can we only fucking talk about Hitler from now on?
Yeah.
Is that what you're trying to say? We can't try to expose the truth of the harms that other people have done. We can't talk about that at all. We can only talk about truly evil people.
I think the reason why we go after Mother Teresa is because she's been given this status of being
that's the other thing. Yeah.
such a perfect woman. It's like, no, she is not a perfect woman. And when the Catholic Church is putting her up on this high pedestal for being so perfect, it is fucking
She's been
bullshit.
beatified. She's going to be a saint.
Well, that's why I say she's the perfect microcosm for the Catholic Church, because it's just this tiny little percentage of good things versus everything the potential is.
She is undeserving of that status.
This is also the group that gave sainthood to Aquinas.
Well, so then he goes on and says, why attack someone who inspires kindness and goodness in so many people? Because of so many of the reasons that we've just stated.
Yeah.
I wouldn't even say that anybody is attacking her. We're exposing the truths of what she fucking did. If you can view that as an attack, then how? If you want to say that the truth is an attack, I can't even begin to tell you how fucking wrong that is.
Well, I think what he's viewing is we're attacking these walls that have been built up around her that are false about how good she was.
Yeah.
That's what's being attacked. And so what he's trying to do is maintain that facade.
Why would you want to tear down these walls? She's been an inspiration.
Right.
But what has inspired people is based on a flawed notion of the shitty things that she actually did. And if anybody truly wants to follow in Mother Teresa's footsteps, that would be bad.
Well, and communism did some good in Germany too. Should we have kept that wall up too?
Yeah. He says, sure, she was flawed, and sure, her religion took their piece of her earnings. Okay, fine, good, sure. But how many people gave their hard-earned dollars, perhaps some old lady sitting at home with nothing to give, sacrificing her last dime to this woman who turned it over to the Catholic Church to build a gold throne or buy ruby slippers for Pope Benny.
Or
it's like that apocalypse
first class flight back home to Albania.
But she did a lot of good and relieved a lot of suffering. First, you need to quantify both of those things.
Yep.
What lot of good did she do, and what lot of suffering did she relieve?
And what do you mean by lot?
She actually didn't relieve much suffering at all. She inflicted more suffering on those who went to her for help and were denied that help. They went there seeking help to be able to live. She forced them to suffer and fucking die.
Yeah.
That is not reduction of suffering. That is increasing and prolonging suffering.
Yep.
Then he says, why do you think there were so many sick and dying people on those little cots that these fuckers criticized? Because it's fucking Haiti. There's nowhere else for these people to go. Like I just said, they went there seeking help. What did they get? Nothing. They got a fucking cot. Oh, well, she should be praised because she took in hundreds of millions of dollars.
Oh, yeah.
Not hundreds of thousands, not a few million, hundreds of millions of dollars, and set up these little fucking shacks with tiny cots, withheld medication from people, withheld pain medication, made them all shit in a fucking bucket, and she should be praised? Fuck that.
Yep. Well, 80 or more % of that went back to the Vatican.
Then he says, because those little cots were under a roof and there was a toilet, even though they had to share, doesn't mention that, they were all shitting in a fucking bucket. And someone walked by now and then to at least make an effort at caring, to make sure that they were staying on their cots and weren't going anywhere else. Apparently he didn't bother reading the fucking article that I posted that talks about them shitting in a bucket and not being allowed to leave their cots. He wants to say that they weren't forced to stay there. Bullshit. They couldn't leave their fucking cots. They couldn't even have relatives come and visit them there.
I would just tell Richard to please read the article.
Yeah. Outside, things were a lot worse. And why does that fucking matter? What does that say about any good or harm that she's done? That's why there were so many people inside. Nobody was forcing people to stay there. That's wrong. That's absolutely fucking wrong. Read the goddamned article. Yeah. They could have died anywhere. Yeah, they could have died anywhere. They went there seeking help, and instead they were forced to suffer and fucking die. Ah. And then he goes on and says this other bullshit about how much money have Penn and Teller raised for the sick and dying. Why? Let's compare that to Mother Teresa. Why does that fucking matter? Can you only point out the ills or the harms that somebody else is doing if you've done something to directly contradict that, or you've done more, you've done something better? You know, you can't say anything bad about anybody unless you are yourself a saint.
Well, I think
that's so wrong.
I think that goes back to what we were saying originally, where it's not that we're saying Penn and Teller are better, but we're just saying that what we're talking about is this edifice that's been built up around Mother Teresa that's false, and then we're saying, hey, that's not exactly the picture of who she was.
Right.
And so now what he's saying,
a false narrative.
It's a red herring anyway.
It's a false narrative, and he's upset that people are exposing this false narrative. I don't understand why. That it makes no sense to me.
I was going to say it reminds me a little bit how when Nelson Mandela died, people were trying to rip him apart, saying he wasn't this good guy. He did this and this and this. He wasn't a great guy. He wasn't a great guy. It's like, well, but then when we say Mother Teresa wasn't a great person, you get all butthurt.
Yeah, well, and then he goes on and he says, how many of the sick and dying of Penn and Teller actually cared for? Again, why does that fucking matter? It doesn't matter. We're not talking about Penn and Teller. We're talking about Mother Teresa.
Yeah, that's not what they're known for.
Yeah, those are all red herrings.
They're not known for helping sick and poor. They're comedians. They're...
Yeah, how many people have they held and comforted as they died? How many people did Mother Teresa hold and comfort as they died?
None.
Well, how many people has Richard saved?
If Mother Teresa's hospices and these fucking shanties that she set up for these people were so wonderful, why wasn't she treated there herself when she started to die? Mm-hmm. Why didn't she send herself to one of these wonderful homes where people at least pretended to care, even though she would have to shit in a fucking bucket and live on a cot?
Yeah.
Fuck, this is making me so mad. How many people have they comforted as they died? How much suffering have Penn and Teller relieved? And how much kindness, goodness, and charity have they inspired? Not much at all. Again, not anything fucking addressing the harms that she did.
Is this guy an atheist?
I have no idea.
Well, because I think it's interesting because this whole section, this latter section you've read, basically puts him in a position of... if you replace a few words, he's completely defending the Bible. Easily, right? You could say, well, how many people, even though it's a false belief, how much hope is it given to people? You know, how many people have received some sort of comfort or consolation from this book? Why would you
so why should we talk about any of the ills of religion?
Well, I'm fairly certain he's Mormon.
But I'm just saying, this is exactly what...
Well, I'm just going off of his movie called God's Army, which its synopsis of the movie says...
Oh, he did God's Army, huh? Okay.
Life as a Mormon missionary isn't what 19-year-old Braden Allen expected.
Okay.
So many rules and so few successes. Los Angeles is unrepented as Sodom and Gomorrah. So yeah, I think his films are mostly religious related, it seems like.
No.
He was the director, producer, writer, and actor in that one.
Well, that makes sense why there's so many fallacies then.
Like I said, I know that he's fairly famous, at least here in Utah, but I don't know much about him.
Or his movie, Brigham City, the sheriff of a small Utah community searches for a serial
killer. I was
killer.
born there.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And he seems to play the lead role in all of his movies he directs.
How convenient.
So I look at it and I'm like, oh, lead. Oh, there's his name again as the director, the writer, and the lead role. I
don't know if he's Mormon or not. He uses quite a few swears in his comments.
Yeah, he does. But anyway.
Well, he got better ratings than Kirk Cameron's films have, so.
Yeah. Those are some of the worst rated films on Rotten Tomatoes ever.
The worst. His Last Saving Christmas was the worst rated movie on Rotten Tomatoes.
Yeah, I don't know much about Richard Dutcher. Not that it fucking matters whether I know much about him or not. His comments are bullshit.
Yeah.
And I haven't had a chance to respond to him because I got the new monitor, was setting all this up. I got the new router, had to set up all of this shit around the house and everything. So I just haven't had the opportunity to reply yet. But soon, my friend.
In our badass.
Coming soon, Mr. Dutcher.
Nice.
Oh yeah.
I can feel you guys phasing me out.
We are podcasting from our new badass room of the basement with TVs and laptops and routers. Mr. Dutcher, what do you have to say about that?
I don't know. I didn't know where I was going with that when I started.
Oh, nice. I see more people commenting here. Shay Anderson. I love that guy. He's very, very smart. Former Utah, now living in California with his partner. They're both really good guys. I'll have to read his comment. But yeah, I'm glad to see him chiming in. Anyway.
Yeah.
Does that about wrap it up?
I think we've had a pretty successful show tonight.
Yeah.
Went good. Do we need to put another? We should probably fill Podcast Phil again because we forgot at the beginning of the fucking episode.
Yeah, let's plug.
Tell people to go to podcastphil.com.
Yes.
And give your pennies and quarters and dimes and dollars and whatever.
If you find something in the couch cushion, go on there and donate it to Podcast Phil.
While I was riding up to go backpacking this past week, I was listening to the Left Show on the way up.
Yeah.
And I noticed them talking about trying to get people to make a fake email, use your original email, and try to submit it into contests for trips.
Oh, right. To try to win a trip for the Shaw family.
Yes.
Because they can't get people to just donate miles, or there's apparently no program to be able to transfer miles or something.
I think you can.
I can't remember exactly what.
I think you can transfer miles because I know my cousin's wife was trying to transfer some miles to me, but I couldn't make it back.
Yeah.
But she said, hey, if you want to come up to Canada for Easter or whatever and visit when the whole family's here, come on up and I can donate my miles to you so you have a free travel.
Yeah.
So I know it's possible. I just don't know what kind of loopholes you have to go through to do it.
Loophole.
Yeah, loophole. Or hey, if there's any of you lovely people out there that listen to our podcast that happen to work for an airline or whatever, I know sometimes they can get some stellar freaking deals because I missed out on it once on a free trip to Hawaii. Because I didn't know it was free. My buddy invited me. I'm like, dude, I don't got time. He's like, I get back. And he's like, well, the airfare was free. I'm like, what are you talking about? My girlfriend works for the airline. We had free flights.
You should have led with that.
Like, yeah, if you would have led with that, I would have called in sick from Hawaii.
So, but yeah, we're trying to raise money for the Shaw family. For those of you who don't know, Forrest Shaw is a member of the Left Show podcast team who was diagnosed with terminal prostate cancer. So we're trying to raise some money for he and his family who, they've had other medical issues within the family besides just Forrest's cancer that he's been going through treatment for and is currently out of work. They're hard up. They're in fear currently of losing their home because, they can't work. He's got cancer.
Prayer has failed.
Prayer has failed. Get off your knees. Don't pray. Send some money their way. You can go to podcastphil.com to do so. There is also a planned benefit concert that will be happening in March.
Okay.
And we will be announcing details of that as soon as they are more fleshed out and we have more information on it. Ryan's wincing in pain from his broken ass.
I saw that.
He rocked to one side and then winced.
It looks miserable.
I'm sorry, buddy. That sucks.
Just wait till I try to stand up.
Mm-hmm.
So anyway, thank you very much for tuning in. We will see you next week, and we'll have Mark Lawrence and Sarah Clausen-Kramer on the show.
Yeah, it'll
be an awesome show, so be sure to listen in and tell your friends to listen too, because it ain't cool to listen alone.
If you have any questions for either of them or for us, be sure to send us an email at godlessrevolution@gmail.com or stop by our Facebook page at facebook.com/godlessrevolution.
Stay in the shadows.
Or email.
All right. We'll see y'all next week.
Bye.
Bye-bye.